Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto time travel and save his parents part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. What just happened? A blonde-haired shinobi said, staring out over the scars of what was once the battlefield for the future of the shinobi world. Just give up now. As you can see, it's hopeless. Surrender the Kyuubi and I can bring back your friends. In the infinite Tsukuyomi, I can bring them back. The world that you've always wanted can be yours. It's futile to resist, called out Tobi, standing aside the revived Uchiha Madara on top of the recently revived Chibi. I've wiped out all your friends. There is nothing left for you in this world. Naruto sank to his knees in despair. Everyone, Sakura, Kiba, Hinata, Shino, Niji, Tenten, Bushy Brows, Shikamaru, Ino, Chuji, Kakashi-sensei, Gai-sensei, everyone was gone. There were maybe a dozen or two or at most who had survived the massive attack that the Chibi had just unleashed upon the allied shinobi forces, and they were in no condition to fight. Some were injured to the point where they would die in a matter of minutes, others were just as shaken as he was. All of his friends gone. The only reason he was still alive was because of B. B had jumped in the way of the attack at the last minute, shielding Naruto. However, the blast was so powerful that everything in the area was destroyed. The only one who remained that could even stand a chance against such a monster was Naruto, and after witnessing what he just did, he was in no condition to fight. Did it really come to this? After everything I did to become stronger, was it still not enough? Asked Naruto to himself. If you surrender now, I can bring everyone back. If not, well, just look around you, called out Tobi once again. I can't win, said Naruto as his heart sank deeper into despair. Inside him, he could hear the laughter of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Kurama, who he had just recently befriended less than a day ago. And to think, only a few days ago, I would have given anything to hear those words from you. For you to give in like you are now. Where did you go? Where did the real you go? The one who said they would never give up, where is he now? Said Kurama. Look around you, it's all gone. All my friends, they're all gone. Shouted Naruto. What would I do? I've lost them. The ones I swore I would protect. How the hell am I supposed to win if I can't protect them? The Kyuubi looked on at Naruto. The boy who he had thought to be unbreakable was finally beginning to break, and he couldn't bear to see Naruto like this. What would you do? What would you do if you could take it back? If you could start over? Start over? But how? Said Naruto, looking up at the giant red fox in his mindscape. There is a technique I know. One that I have yet to use, and one that was taught to me by my father, Rikidojiji. One that will give us that chance, said the Kyuubi. Really? Naruto looked up at the Kyuubi, eyes now regaining some of their hope. What does it do? What do I have to do? I'll do anything. I'll make sure none of this happens. There's the Naruto I knew. Just follow the hand seals as I call them out. I'll take care of the chakra, said Kurama. He then felt something from outside Naruto. The Kyuubi was powering up for another attack. We need to hurry, or we won't be around much longer. Right. Let's do it, said Naruto, regaining his fire. Right. Remember, do the hand seals exactly as I call them out, said Kurama. Naruto nodded, indicating he was ready. Here we go. I, Inu, Ushi, Mi, Tora, Nauma, Saru. Tobi and Madara noticed that Naruto had begun going through hand seals. Looks like you have chosen death, said Tobi as he prepared the Kyuubi for the next and final attack. Tora, Snake, Rat, Uma, Saru, Inu, Naruto went through the seals as the Kyuubi unleashed the attack. Saru, Tora, Hitsuji, Mi. Time reversal jutsu. The Kyuubi's attack hit Naruto just as he completed the last of the hand seals. The explosion was suddenly shattered by a ball of white light that suddenly disappeared, leaving nothing where it was. Naruto woke to find himself drifting in what looked to be space with the giant red Kyuubi next to him. Kurama, what is this? Asked a confused Naruto. Time travel. We are going back. Back to the day everything started, said Kurama. Really? We are going back in time? How far? Asked Naruto. As far back as you can go, the moment of your birth, said Kurama. My birth? Does that mean my parents? Asked Naruto. Yes, Naruto. The moment you came out of your mother womb. The moment just before that bastard attacked you. The moment where we can begin to change everything, said Kurama. What, really? Does that mean I can save my parents? Said Naruto, getting all excited. I think so, but we will need to act fast. We need to act before that Tobi guy can take your mother and extract me, said the Kyuubi. Extract you? But you'll be sealed in me, won't you? Asked Naruto. No. And if things work out, I never will. Now listen to me carefully because we are almost there. The moment we get there, we need to do everything we can to warn your parents. You'll just be a newborn and I'll be sealed inside your mother. If I remember correct, we will have maybe a minute at most to warn them. I need you to make as much noise as possible, and I'll do my best to get through to that thick-headed woman you call your mother, said Kurama. Ahead of them, they could see light. The end of their journey through time was coming to an end, and the next minute or two would possibly make or break everything. I can't believe I am saying this, but thank you, Naruto. Thank you for helping me out back there, said Kurama. Hey, don't mention it. You're my friend after all. Hell, you're practically like a brother to me, said Naruto. The light brightened until there was only light. They had arrived at their destination. Naruto opened his eyes for the very first time. He could barely move and he felt weird, but taking a quick look around, he saw someone that nearly made him tear up his dad, the Yondaime Hokage, standing over him and looking like the happiest man in the world. Uzumaki Kushina was crying out in pain as she began to deliver the baby which she carried. All the while, she was struggling to keep the Kyuubi, which she had sealed inside her, in check. If there was any night where the Kyuubi could escape, it was tonight. The seal on her had weakened over the past few months as her energy was more focused on the developing child within her womb than it was the great demon sealed within her. Thankfully, she had help. Her husband, Namake's Minato and the Yondaime Hokage, was doing everything in his power to keep the Kyuubi's seal in check and to help his wife through the trials of childbirth. I can see the head. Just a little more, Kushina! Shouted Baiwoku, the midwife responsible for delivering Kushina's child. Naruto! Come out! Shouted Minato. Kyuubi, you stay in! Kushina gritted her teeth one last time and gave one more push. Suddenly, the sounds of the room were filled with that of a crying child. Kushina tried to regain her breath as she began to cry as Baiwoku wrapped the newly born boy in a blanket. She was so excited by the event that had just taken place that she didn't notice that the Kyuubi had unexplainably settled down. Naruto opened his eyes, finding himself in some chamber with his father looking down at him, tearing up by the fact that he was finally a father. Naruto's crying stopped for a moment as he realized where he was. He was in his own body the very moment after he had just been born. They had done it. He and Kurama were now in the past. I need you to make as much noise as possible. The words the Kyuubi had given him before they arrived in the past echoed in his head. Naruto knew what was coming next and there was no way he would let that happen, despite his limited ability to do anything at the moment besides cry. As such, he began bursting out in an uncontrollable fit of crying. Kushina let out a deep breath as she looked at her newly born son. She then closed her eyes, only for a moment, awaking to find herself in her own mindscape facing the Kyuubi, who was chained and staked to a large black sphere. Took you long enough. You've got to get out of here. You and your kid are in danger, warned the Kyuubi. Kushina looked on in utter confusion. Don't give me that look. Wake up and look around. He's here. Uchiha Madara. And if he isn't stopped, you and your kid are as good as dead. Now get out. The Kyuubi's last bark forced Kushina back into the real world, causing her to sit up straight, despite the pain originating from her waist as a result of just giving birth. It was then she saw him, the man the Kyuubi was talking about, Uchiha Madara. Her eyes grew wide. She didn't know why she believed the Kyuubi, but that man wasn't supposed to be here. Minato! She shouted, pointing to the man. Minato turned around just in time to see the masked man slash Taji, another of the midwives, across the neck, sending her to the ground dead. He made a quick move for Baiwoku and the bundle containing Naruto, realizing he had been noticed. The masked man slashed with a knife at Baiwoku, only for it to pass through thin air and a flash of yellow light. Another flash appeared next to Kushina as Minato appeared, carrying an injured Baiwoku and his son, Naruto. Who are you, and what do you want? Asked Minato. How did he get through the barrier? Give me the Jinchuriki, said the man. Minato's eyes widened as he looked at Kushina. And why would I do that? Responded Minato. Unless you want your son to die, you'll hand her over, said the masked man, disappearing in a vortex and reappearing behind Minato and Kushia. He began to suck them into his vortex as well, but Minato was faster. Just in time, he used the Hirashi to escape the masked man's grasp, taking Kushina, Naruto, and Baiwoku with him. Saruobi Hiruzen was sitting inside the Hokage's office, observing the events that just transpired with the crystal ball. He let out a sigh of relief when we saw that the four of them had gotten away from the masked man, only to see a flash of yellow light appear before him. Minato, Baiwoku! He shouted, rising from his chair. Hiruzen, we were attacked. Somehow, a masked man got through the barrier, explained Minato before being silenced by the Sandaime. I know. I saw everything and I am relieved you are okay, but it pains me to see that Taji is dead, said the Sandaime. Who was that man? I don't really know, said Minato. Uchiha Madara, said Kushina, shocking everyone in the room. How I know surprises even me, but I think that is the man's name. Madara? Are you sure? Asked Sarutobi. I don't know. And I don't know why, but it was the Kyuubi that warned me, said Kushina. The Kyuubi? But how? Asked Minato. Again, I don't know. All I remember is him calming down for some reason, and then I closed my eyes for a second and appeared before him. I can't out my finger on it, but he seemed different. Anyways, he said we were in danger before forcing me back into the real world, and when I sat up there was that man. Just as the Kyuubi had warned, said Kushina. This is troubling indeed. Umbu! Ordered Sarutobi. In the already crowded office, about a dozen ANBU appeared. A man wearing an orange spiral mask and a cloak just attacked the secure location where Kushina was to be giving birth. Find him and eliminate him, but be careful, he is extremely dangerous. Minato, we need to close the seal. I know, I'm already doing so. It helps that the Kyuubi isn't resisting anymore though, said Minato. Before he knew it, he felt a presence behind him. Minato took one of his kunai and swung at the masked man, who had suddenly appeared behind him. The knife passed through the man as if he were a ghost. As soon as the knife passed through, the man grabbed Minato by the shoulder and tried to suck him into that vortex thing. But Minato was able to flash away again, taking the masked man with him. They appeared outside the Namake's estate as the two foes stared at each other. I won't let you get away next time. And once I have you, I'll go and claim the Kyuubi and use it to destroy Konoha, declared the man. Minato looked at the man, thinking. This man could use space-time jutsu too and was obviously very powerful if he could slip through the barrier like he did. Perhaps the Kyuubi was right. Are you Uchiha Madara? Asked Minato. The man lowered his hood, revealing short, spiky black hair, kind of resembling Madara's hair if it were shorter. No, you can't be, he's dead. Well, who knows? I guess you could say I'm more of a ghost of my former self, said Madara. Well, it's not important who you are, but why do you want the Kyuubi? And why do you want to attack Konoha? Asked Minato. Well, I guess you could say it's both a whim and a plan for both war and peace, said Madara. It doesn't matter who he is. I can't let him get Kushina. I'll have to stop him here, said Minato as the two charged at each other. Minato lunged forward with his knife, passing through the man and finding himself caught in the man's chain. Before Madara could pull tight and dice Minato, he flashed again to safety. Minato analyzed the situation quickly. The masked man was ethereal except for the very moment he attacked. It would all come down to whose attack was a split second faster. Minato and the masked man charged each other again, with Minato throwing his Hiraishin kunai at the man's head. The knife passed through and Minato charged up a Rasengan. The masked man reached out to grab Minato. Victory is me? Minato had flashed once again, this time to the knife that was just above the masked man's back. Rasengan! Minato shouted as he drove the Rasengan into the masked man's back, slamming him into the ground before he could become ethereal again. Minato had backed away as the masked man struggled to his feet. Minato flashed again, appearing right before the masked man, driving a kunai into the man's gut. The man stumbled back as his arm seemingly melted from him. No wonder you're the Yondaime Hokage. I'm impressed you were able to best me this time, but I am the ruler of the world. I have many means at my disposal, declared the man. For some reason, Minato could tell the man wasn't lying. Naruto had opened his eyes once again, afraid that he would be sitting on an altar with his father preparing the Shiki Fuin. But he wasn't. He was in that old lady by Woko's arms as Sarutobi was trying to keep Kushina's seal under control. I guess if she's Gigi's wife, then I've got another person to call Bachan besides Tsunade Bachan, thought Naruto. Sarutobi had to admit it was easy to keep the seal stable while the Kyuubi was not resisting. Even he was curious as to why the Kyuubi wasn't trying to break free, but he wasn't complaining. Unfortunately, the only person who could close the seal was Minato, and he was who knows where right now at least, until a yellow flash was seen in the middle of the office. Minato, is everything alright? Asked Sarutobi. That masked man got away. I fought him and injured him severely. I don't think we are going to have to worry about him for a while, but I fear what the future may hold, said Minato. So does that mean you think he will return? Asked Hiruzen. No. I know he'll be back, said Minato. Suddenly, he heard crying over from the Hokage's desk. Minato rushed over to pick up Naruto. Hello Naruto, it's nice to finally meet you. I'm your father Minato. Minato smiled. He had successfully managed to defend his new family. Naruto stopped crying the moment he heard his father's calm and cheerful voice. He opened his eyes and looked into his father's cerulean eyes with his own cerulean eyes. It wasn't a dream. His parents were truly saved and he wasn't having a giant red fox sealed in him right now. Minato, the seal, said Sarutobi. Oh, sorry, grinned Minato, putting his hand behind his head as he handed Naruto off to Baiwoko. Minato worked quickly to secure the seal on Kushina. The danger had passed, but there were still some confusing questions that had to be answered. Like, why did the Kyuubi warn them and how did he know that man was coming? Minato let out a breath of relief before taking Kushina and Naruto away to the hospital in a flash of yellow. Minutes later, Naruto found himself in what he thought was heaven. Perhaps Madara had killed him. Perhaps Madara had won the war. Right now, he didn't care what it was. For the first time he would remember, he was physically snuggling in his mother's arms. This truly was a new beginning. He would save his friends, he would keep his family safe, but for now, he would just enjoy the time he had with his mom and dad. You know, I think I might actually like this. Although, now that I think of it, I kind of wish I had the old fur ball inside of me. I can't talk yet, and it's going to be a lonely few months until I actually can. And speaking of which, I'd better work on walking and potty training. The shorter I have to put up with diapers, the better. Well, surprisingly that worked out, thought Kurama from inside Kushina. You know, perhaps I should have gone back to when I was about to be sealed inside the kit. I'm sure I could have found some way to keep his parents alive and I wouldn't have to deal with these damn stakes stuck in me. I can't believe I'd rather be in that damp sewer again. Kushina and Naruto were held in the hospital for the next 2 days, as was normal so that the doctors could make sure that both the mother and child were healthy. The checkups the next few days revealed Naruto to be completely healthy, although the doctors were surprised by the newborn having unusually large chakra reserves. First, there were some fluctuations with his chakra as the amount he had tried to adjust itself to the small body it was contained in, but his chakra levels later stabilized. Upon hearing this, Naruto was happy to know that he would still have his large reserves. It made sense that he had them. After all, chakra is half physical and half spiritual, with the spiritual part being comprised mainly of memories and experiences, which Naruto had brought back with him through the trip through time. The 2 days passed and they were discharged from the hospital. The previous day, Minato had made his marriage to Kushina public, which was originally a secret that they kept until Naruto was born. Of course, anyone who knew Minato and Kushina well enough knew they had been married for some time. They had arrived at the Namikaze estate, located a few blocks away from the Hokage Tower. The house, while it wasn't a mansion, was rather large for only 2, now 3 people, but that was because Minato kept a rather large study. Out back, there was a large yard that was used as a private training facility by both Kushina and Minato, and soon Naruto. "Welcome home," Naruto called out Kushina and Minato in unison. Naruto looked around at the house and he still couldn't believe it. He truly was back. This truly was the beginning of a new life for him. He would rewrite the past so that none of his future would ever have to happen. Minato sighed. "Why did I even take this job again?" He asked no one in particular, except maybe the baby next to him. 2 months had passed since that day, the day Naruto traveled back to the past, and the day he saved his parents. Naruto was in the Hokage's office while his dad was working on the mountain of paperwork that was sitting on his desk, a lot of it doing with Kumogakure. Konohagakure and Kumogakure were no longer at war anymore, the war between them having ended around a year ago. However, that didn't mean that tensions were high between the 2 shinobi villages. The Third Shinobi World War was coming to a close with the Wagakure pulling out of any military advances, mainly due to the actions of a particular blonde leaf ninja, and rumors were circulating around the nations that Kirigakure was planning on doing the same. This is usually how wars on the scale of shinobi world wars ended, very anticlimactic. At the beginning, there was much anxiety amongst all nations, with every nation dispatching their shinobi with the hopes of conquering one of the villages. However, as time passed, villages would cut back on the amount of offensive assaults they would carry out and switch to a more defensive position. This was due to many possible reasons. 1. A village was beginning to lose numbers as casualties of war increased. This was the case with Iwa's change in tactics. Second, a village could find themselves under heavy assault, and they could not afford to send their resources out on offensive endeavors. This was also another reason why IWA began to pull out. Third, was internal struggle. This was the reason Kiri pulled out of the war, as they were now in the middle of a civil war that looked like it was going to be long and bloody. The final reason was that a country began to lose sight into why they were at war, or their main objective was complete. This was Konoha's case. At the beginning of the war, Konoha's main enemy was IWA, who was practically defeated at the time. With IWA defeated, Konoha had no real reason to continue a war, but other nations did. One such nation was Kumo. Kumo had been regarded as war-loving due to the habit they had of either starting wars or joining wars in which they had no business in, with the hopes of earning some sort of spoil, whether it be money, support, or a new bloodline. Konoha was no longer officially at war with anyone, but there were still a few aggressive actions from Kumo every now and then, resulting in a pile-up of paperwork for the young Hokage. Naruto was sitting in a cradle-like seat simply doing well, not much really. This was the one thing about being a baby that Naruto really hated. He couldn't talk because his vocal cords weren't developed, he couldn't walk or crawl because his legs and arms weren't developed, and worst of all, he couldn't eat ramen because he had no teeth. All he could really do was enjoy the company of his parents, which, considering he lived for 17 years without them, really wasn't a bad thing. A few minutes passed and the secretary came into Minato's office. "Sir, there have been reports of disturbances around the bathing district," said the secretary before handing Minato the report and leaving the office. "Looks like Ero-sennin's back in town," thought Naruto. He couldn't wait to see that overgrown pervert again. The last time he had seen him was just before Jiraiya left to go to Amigakure, his final mission before dying at the hands of pain that got Naruto thinking. The memories of returning to find out Jiraiya had died came back to him, and they hurt. He had been devastated, only to be helped back up by Shikamaru and Irika-sensei. Speaking of those two, he was wondering when he would eventually see them. He couldn't wait to see all his old friends again, and now because he wasn't some demon brat anymore, perhaps the parents of Konoha would be nice to him. One other thought came to mind. Had pain been created yet? Or were Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko still alive and well? If he was correct, the time it currently was should have indicated that Hanzo wouldn't double-cross them for at least another 8 or 9 years, which meant he still had time. If he could save Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko, that would go a long way towards stopping the future. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything about it now. Well, looks like a certain pervert is back in town. "I think I'm going to go greet your sensei," said Kushina as she entered the room, hearing the report. Minato cringed at the thought of Kushina dealing with Jiraiya. She was almost as bad as Tsunade when it came to beating the peeping perv. "So what do you think, Naruto? You ready to meet your godfather?" asked Minato, going over to Naruto's cradle. "Quit peeping, you perv," was heard all over the village, followed by a thwack and then the sound of crashing boards as Jiraiya came sailing into Minato's office with a bruised and bloody face. "Hey, there he is. There's my godson," said Jiraiya. He managed to recover himself and began dancing around with a little bundle of joy in his hands. "Sensei, that's a pot," commented Minato. Jiraiya shook his head, still dazed from the blow, and proceeded to the real Naruto. "Hey! There's my little godson. It's your uncle Jiraiya." Naruto looked at the old man with an expression that was mixed with longing, sadness, and a little bit of "who the hell is this creeper?" "Kushi-chan, I think you overdid it that time," commented Minato to Kushina, who had just stepped back into the office. "Nonsense, he had what was coming to him for peeping," replied Kushina. "I wasn't peeping. I was researching for my next book," Jiraiya defended. "Well, that still doesn't mean you can go around peeping into hot springs," said Kushina. "What I was doing was perfectly fine." "Isn't that right, Naruto?" said Jiraiya, pinching the 2-month-old's cheeks. Naruto smiled. "See, Naruto agrees with me." Now, Naruto couldn't walk or talk or call the perverted sage what he really was. But there was something he could do that, being a baby, he could easily get away with. "Leg, ha 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 ha." Kushina found herself rolling on the floor laughing, unable to breathe as Jiraiya paled, giving Naruto one of those "you're kidding me, right?" looks. Baby Naruto looked at Jiraiya with a big grin on his face, who handed the kid to Minato before going to wash the baby vomit off his shirt. A few minutes later, Jiraiya returned. "I'm watching you, brat," he said, staring at Naruto, who was looking innocently at Jiraiya. "Fine, if bribing you is what it takes, then here." Jiraiya handed Naruto a stuffed frog, which Naruto immediately began playing with. "It's good you're back, sensei," said Minato as everyone in the office regained themselves. "Well, I had to stop back eventually to see the kid," said Jiraiya. "Anyways, have you made any progress on what happened that night, especially between Kushina and Furball?" "Sadly no. I don't know how exactly to explain it. First he was trying his hardest to get out and then he instantly calms down. Next thing I know, I'm in my mindscape and he's warning me about some guy named Uchiha Madara and that I'm in danger. A few seconds later, I'm forced out of my mind and there is the same man I was warned about, going for Naruto. I don't know. If the Kyuubi hadn't warned me, then who knows what would have happened," said Kushina. "I know, and you wouldn't like it," replied Naruto to himself. "Still, I've tried to talk to him on that, but he's gone right back to being the insensitive jerk he was before. I can't even go 5 seconds of talking to him without him insulting me or something," said Kushina. "What are you doing?" "I thought you changed," thought Naruto. "I'll stop insulting you when you get this damn steak out of my chest, hee. It's actually kind of fun to act like an arrogant bastard again," laughed the Kyuubi to himself. It was true, he'd insult her, she'd get flustered, and he'd laugh when she left. He would reveal the truth when and if Naruto ever revealed his own truth. About another 3 months had passed and Naruto was really beginning to get tired of the baby stuff at this point. He was still considered immobile at this point despite all of his efforts to even try and crawl. If there was one thing about being a baby that he hated, it was the stinking diapers, literally. He figured once he got to the point where he could walk, then he wouldn't need diapers as he'd be able to use the toilet. The next time he traveled back in time he was coming back to a point where he could walk. However, there was one thing that he had noticed about himself. The other day, while minding his own business, he noticed something hard and bony coming out of his bottom gum. It was a tooth. When his mom realized that, she pretty much flipped with excitement. This only meant one thing: his life was about to get a whole lot better. That's right, it was time for ramen. Fortunately for him, Minato and Kushina had gone to Ichiraku for lunch, and they had brought him with them. The first thing he noticed was that old man Tucci really wasn't that old and that there was a little girl, probably about 5 years old, standing behind the counter watching at what Tucci was doing. "Wait, that can't be Ayame-chan, can it?" thought Naruto. In fact, it was. Apparently her dad had brought her into work that day. And so began the start of his favorite father-daughter on ramen stand. Finally, the moment Naruto had been waiting for. After what seemed like too much talking between Tucci and his parents, the ramen came. Fortunately for him, he was sitting in his mother's lap and was actually within reach of the bowl of ramen. Unfortunately, before he could even get his hands on a noodle, the entire bowl was gone, replaced by an empty bowl. Kushina had practically downed the entire bowl and was already in the process of ordering another one. He looked over at his dad, who was eating his ramen much slower, but enjoying it nonetheless. Apparently, both of his parents were ramen lovers, with Minato being the favorite type and Kushina, well, let's just say he knew what side of the family his ramen eating habits came from. On the 10th bowl, Naruto's opportunity came as Minato managed to distract Kushina long enough for him to make another go at the bowl. Minato saw this, but Kushina didn't as she went for the bowl, taking it from in front of a now disappointed Naruto. Did the big mean red habanero take your ramen?" asked Minato in a sort of googly tone. Kushina scowled at this as Minato took Naruto from her lap and put him on his own. "Thank Kami, Dad to the rescue." "Well, I guess that answers that dilemma," thought Naruto. Minato took some noodles from his second bowl, cooling them a little before feeding them to an ever-joyful Naruto, who happily slurped up the noodles. Letting out a little burp, everyone at the stand either laughed or was going oh. Looks like the love of ramen runs in the family, commented Tucci. Dada, said Naruto as everyone's attention turned to the little blonde. Naruto had just said his first words, at least in this time. Naruto? What did you just say? Asked the Hokage, who was in complete disbelief. Dada, said Naruto again. Minato was filled with joy that he was his son's first words. Haha, my son just said his first word, shouted the Hokage. Kushina sent him a glare, angry that she wasn't the subject of her son's first words. Looks like I win. Apparently, Minato and Kushina had been having a little competition as to whose name Naruto would say first. Naruto knew about this, being able to understand them since he was born, and he had been able to actually talk for a few weeks. But he figured he'd wait and see which parent passed his test. It's only because you gave him ramen, scoffed Kushina, causing Minato to grin even bigger. She turned away from them, crossing her arms and pouting a little. You can't underestimate the power of ramen, thought Naruto. Naruto turned to his pouting mother and used the puppy dog eyes no jutsu, the only jutsu he was able to use at this point in time. Mama? He called out. Kushina fell for it, turning her head to look into his bright blue puppy dog eyes. Kawaii! She screamed out. I could never stay mad at you, my little Naruto-kun, Kushina said as she swiped Naruto from Minato's arms and proceeded to squeeze him. For Naruto, he was finally able to talk, even if just a little, and he was now eating ramen again. All that was really left was walking. Once he was able to do that, it would only be a matter of time. 11 months had passed since he was born again. He couldn't believe how difficult it was to walk. He had been spending the past 10 months trying to get himself to be able to walk. If there was anything he wanted right now, it was the ability to walk, even more so than ramen. Speaking of ramen, he could smell the aroma of cooking ramen coming from the kitchen, meaning he knew what was for dinner. The first time he had his mother's home-cooked ramen, he couldn't believe it. There was actually ramen better than Ichiraku, and it was his mom's own homemade ramen. Screw walking, he wanted ramen now. Na began to crawl towards the kitchen. On the bright side, he had learned how to crawl a couple of weeks ago and was at least somewhat mobile. He made his way to the threshold between the family room and the kitchen, and the aroma began to intensify. His mom was in there, making ramen. Unbeknownst to him, Naruto slowly made his way to his feet as he stumbled forward towards the pot of heavenly goodness, bumping into the table on his way in. This caught Kushina's attention, and she turned around to see who was there. Looking down, she saw Naruto, walking on his own. Not thinking at all, she scooped the child and began squeezing the life out of him as she jumped for joy. A few moments later, she realized what was happening and released her grip on her son. My baby, I can't believe you just took your first steps, she cried out. Huh? I can walk? Yay, I can walk. Finally, no more stinking diapers, declared Naruto. Mommy ramen? He asked out in a cute voice. How can I say no to that? But not too much or you'll spoil your dinner, she said, taking a small bowl of ramen from the pot on the stove. Mid-slurp, there was a flash in the middle of the kitchen, indicating that Minato had just come home. Giving his red-headed wife a quick kiss, his attention was drawn towards the standing mini Minato slurping down a small bowl of ramen. Did he ask Minato? Kushina only smiled and nodded, and Minato let out a joyful laugh. My son just took his first steps. It was October 10th, now a year since Naruto's return to the past. Naruto had never enjoyed his birthday, no one to celebrate it with, drunken villagers chasing him around with knives, bats, and whatever they could find, and him sitting alone wondering why his life had turned out like it had. However, for once this birthday would be different. There would be no Kyuubi festival, no drunken villagers chasing him around, and he would have family that would actually celebrate his birthday. Seeing as he was still considered a baby, Minato and Kushina decided to keep the celebrations small and amongst themselves. Naruto could have the parties when he was actually old enough to enjoy them. Kushina had basically invited only themselves, Jiraiya, and the Sandaime and his wife, who Naruto had referred earlier on as Gigi. However, earlier in the day, he caught a glimpse of something that nearly made him cry for the first time since the day he was born. Sasuke. Uchiha Makoto, a good friend of Kushina's, had stopped by earlier to wish Naruto a happy birthday, and she was carrying a year-old Sasuke with her. This Sasuke wasn't the same Sasuke that had left the village, nearly tried to kill him, or join Madara in the Fourth Shinobi War. No, this was a Sasuke that could still be saved, one that was still innocent. Naruto figured he had about 8 years until the Uchiha incident, if it even occurred at all. Naruto knew the truth behind the Uchiha massacre. The Uchiha clan had planned to revolt against the village due to the suspicions that were mounting on them as a result of the Kyuubi attack. However, there was no Kyuubi attack. Did that mean that the Uchiha clan wouldn't revolt? Would there even be an Uchiha massacre? Naruto wasn't really sure about this, but he figured that he would play it safe and keep an eye out when the time got near. But for now, he had a birthday to enjoy. The first one in 18 years, the Sarutobis arrived first. Minato and Kushina invited them as it appeared that Naruto had identified them practically as his grandparents, which the Sandaime was pretty much a grandfather figure to him in the previous timeline. Jiraiya arrived almost an hour later, bearing a huge red imprint of a hand on the side of the face. It wasn't hard to guess what he had been up to. About 2 hours after their little party started, a 15-year-old version of Kakashi had finally shown up. Even in this timeline, he was still as late as ever. Naruto had been introduced to Kakashi a few months ago, when he finally returned home from an extended mission. Since then, he had seen his past sensei only once or twice, figuring Kakashi had been busy or something. He wondered if he would still get Kakashi as a sensei in this time. If he did, then Kakashi was in for a few surprises during the Genin test. Now that everyone was finally there, Kushina brought out the thing Naruto was really waiting for, the special ramen. This was the same ramen that he had the day he finally learned to walk. He had been wondering why his mom didn't make it more, considering how good it was. He learned that there were a few ingredients in her recipe that were rare and very expensive. As such, that ramen she made was only for special occasions. For presents, well, he couldn't believe that he was actually getting presents for his birthday. Even if they were typical presents for a 1-year-old, they were gifts nonetheless. Unfortunately, the night nearly ended in disaster, with Naruto almost taking a topple down the stairs. Curse the clumsiness that he still had in this body. Minato managed to catch him, but not before Naruto had fallen down a few steps already, resulting in a few bruises and cuts. Pretty much everyone had expected Naruto to cry, as a normal 1-year-old had done, but to everyone's surprise, he just gritted with the pain. "That's a pretty tough boy you've got there," said Jiraiya. "Falls down the steps and doesn't cry. It's strange that you should mention that. Kushina and I were expecting a hassle during the first year of raising a child. You know, being woken in the middle of the night by a crying baby, 5 times over," said Minato. Sarutobi and Biwoko nodded, knowing what parenthood of a baby was like. "But for some reason, I've never heard him cry, not since the day he was born. If he wants something, he either says so, or at least he used to make some sort of noise, but he never really cried." "Well, I never cried for something has never gotten me anything," thought Naruto. That was true. During his first childhood, crying never gave him any attention, and eventually he stopped crying. The only time when he would cry was when he lost someone precious to him. But that crying was because of emotions, not because he wanted something. Kushina was trying to nurse the few scrapes on Naruto's arms, when said scrapes caught everyone's attention. "Hey Minato, well, look at that," said Jiraiya, pointing to the scrapes on Naruto's arm. "Looks like he has Kushina's bloodline." "Bloodline?" thought a surprised Naruto. "I didn't know you had a bloodline, Kushina-sensei," said Kakashi. "Well, I tend to keep it a secret, so don't tell anyone," said Kushina. Everyone nodded. "My clan, besides their renowned skills in Kenjutsu and Fuinjutsu, were also known for their incredible vitality and longevity. We also have a bloodline that went along with it. Basically, we could heal any non-fatal wound in just a fraction of the time that it would normally heal. For example, a broken bone would heal in hours and cuts would be healed in seconds to minutes." "Wait. Does that mean my healing was a bloodline? Not the Kyuubi?" thought Naruto. "Wow. This is cool. Even without the Kyuubi, I still won't have to put up with hospital food." "I know what you're thinking, Naruto. And no, I did not heal you except for when that bastard friend of yours put a hole through your chest," thought Kurama. "It also means I'm not affected by most poisons and diseases," said Kushina. She then shot a glare at Jiraiya. "Although, the bloodline is one secret we tried to keep secret. Can you imagine what other villages and clans would do if they figured out?" "Sorry, it left me for a moment when I realized your brat had it as well," said Jiraiya. "Hey! He's not a brat," objected Kushina. "He was the moment he threw up on me in your office," said Jiraiya. Kushina and Naruto laughed at the memory. Naruto still couldn't believe it. He had a bloodline. After all the bragging amongst other shinobi he met in the previous timeline about them having a bloodline, he couldn't believe his luck. It was a little over 2 years now since that fateful night. Naruto had finally gotten his motor control to a point where he could actually begin training a little. Unfortunately for him, his chakra control in this new body was even worse than he ever had, partially due to his age and still rapidly developing body. His speech was at the point where he could put together coherent sentences, and no longer had to use a combination between baby talk and English. "Yes, I know. For this purpose, they speak English for the most part." Naruto was outside, behind the Namake's estate, trying to do the leaf concentration exercise at an attempt of getting some form of chakra control so that he could see which jutsu he could still do. "Naruto, you out here?" called out Minato. He caught Naruto trying to do the leaf concentration exercise. "Is that Naruto? And why is he doing that? I might have mentioned chakra to him once or twice, but I never showed him how to control it. After all, most parents haven't even thought about their kid being ninja yet." Naruto heard this and his concentration broke, startled and afraid he might have been caught. "Naruto, what are you doing?" "Dad, you see, I was just seeing if I stick this leaf to my head," said Naruto. He was busy trying to come up with some sort of lie, but it needed to have some element of truth to it. "I see, but where did you learn about that?" "Your mother and I may have mentioned chakra to you, but no one's told you how to use it yet," said Minato. "Well, I kind of overheard one of the teachers at the academy talk about this the other day when you took me there. They said something like concentrate on the leaf to work on something they called chakra control." "You mean chakra control?" asked Minato. "Yeah, that's it," exclaimed Naruto. So far his dad was buying it. Okay, but just know dinner will be ready soon, said Minato, walking off and leaving Naruto to his business. Chakra control already? I was about that age when my dad started working with me, said Kakashi, hopping down from a tree. Kakashi, don't you have a mission you should have left for 2 hours ago? Asked Minato. Hee, I'm heading there right now, sensei, said Kakashi as he took off. Maybe. I wanted him to just be a kid a bit longer before I began teaching him about being a shinobi, but perhaps it is about time Kushi-chan and I start working on him, thought Minato. The following day, Minato took Naruto into the back of the estate and told Naruto that he would begin training him to some extent if that was what Naruto wanted. But first he asked Naruto a question. Now I want to know why you want to start on stuff like chakra control already, son? Naruto already knew an answer that he could give. It had been the answer he had always given if someone asked him why he wanted to become a ninja. Because I want to be just like you too, san. I want to be Hokage. Tibeo, declared Naruto. Tibeo? Oh dear, your mother's not going to be happy, said Minato. Naruto looked at him confused and asked why. Because she has that same verbal tic and was hoping you wouldn't pick up on it. Naruto just grinned at this. Anyways, so you want to be just like me, huh? Yeah. I want to be just like you, Dad. A strong and powerful ninja who looks after the whole village, said Naruto, trying his best to give an answer a 2-year-old would give. Minato chuckled a little. And so, Minato and Kushina began working on their son's goal to become a strong ninja and perhaps the next person to take over Minato's position. Months passed and Naruto was finally getting in some training. It wasn't a lot as his parents still wanted him to enjoy his time as a kid and even he couldn't really complain about that. But it was enough to help him get his chakra control back to the point where he could perform at least a decent henge, although his parents didn't know that because he had worked on that in private. About 2 months after his 3rd birthday, a visitor stopped by the Namake's estate. It was a tall man with long brown hair and pale eyes. If you didn't know better, you would say this man was blind. Standing next to him, holding onto his robes, was a rather small girl with the same pale eyes and lavender hair. Hayashi-san, what can I do for you today? Asked Minato, greeting the guest. Minato-sama, Kushina-sama, good day. I just stopped by to invite you to Hinata's 3rd birthday party that will be coming up in a few weeks, said Hayashi, handing Minato the invitation. Minato took a look at the date on the invitation. I'm sorry, Hayashi, but I don't think I personally will be able to make it. You are aware that is the day the Kumo delegation is coming to sign the non-aggression treaty, and I don't know if I will have time. Sadly, that day is one of those days where my duty as Hokage comes before my duty as a father. However, I will stop over if I can, and I'm sure Kushina wouldn't mind bringing Naruto over, said Minato as Kushina smiled and nodded. Kushina and Hataru, Hayashi's wife and Hinata's mother, were good friends and she would have no problem taking Naruto that day. It was at this time that Naruto had walked into the family room of the house, stopping dead in his tracks. Flashback. Naruto could feel Pain's chakra inside him, coming in through those rod things that he had pierced him with. It's time for us to go, Kyuubi, said Pain. Before he could take Naruto away, someone came rushing to his rescue, someone Naruto had not expected. I won't let you lay another finger on Naruto, the newcomer declared. What are you doing? Get out of here. You're no match, shouted Naruto before he was interrupted. I know. I'm just being selfish, the newcomer said. What are you talking about? What are you doing here? It's dangerous, shouted Naruto. I'm here of my own free will. I used to always cry and give up. I nearly went the wrong way. But you showed me the right way. I was always chasing you, wanting to overtake you. I just wanted to walk with you. I wanted to be with you. You changed me. Your smile saved me. So I'm not afraid to die protecting you. Because I love you. End flashback. Hinata, said Naruto softly. Until then, he had never heard anyone say it. She was the first person who openly said that they loved him. The time when Sakura confessed to him as well in the Land of Iron, it was honestly that moment, those words from Hinata, that had stopped Naruto from accepting Sakura's confession. Despite everything, Hinata really did love him, and for many years too, but this time is different. Would she still like me? Would she still fall in love with me? Thought Naruto to himself. Unfortunately, only time would tell. Naruto and Kushina were walking along the street on their way to the Hyuga compound where they had been asked to come and celebrate the 3rd birthday of the clan heir, Hinata. Unfortunately, Minato couldn't join them as he had Hokage business to deal with today. Today was the day that Kumo was coming to sign a non-aggression treaty with Konoha, effectively ending the 3rd Shinobi World War. All the time while walking to the Hyugas, Naruto was thinking. Something happened today, something important that affected one of his friends in the previous timeline, but he couldn't remember what it was. Naruto couldn't help but notice the people walking through the village. In his past timeline, they would send him glares of hatred and annoyance, but this time none of that. Most of the villagers turned their heads his way and either smiled at him, waved at him, and even a few greeted him warmly. He had earned his respect near the time of the 4th Shinobi World War, but he had saved the entire village in that timeline. He hadn't done anything yet, at least that no one knows of, in this timeline, and it wasn't that he didn't like it, It was just kind of weird to him. Naruto and Kushina arrived at the Hyuga compound and noticed that the majority of the guests were Hyugas themselves. There were some other people there, but Naruto realized that they had to be important civilians or something along those lines as he couldn't recognize any of them. However, he soon realized that the majority of the people there had a similar brown color to their hair, with the exception of his bright blonde hair, his mother's red hair, and another woman's lavender-colored hair. That woman with the lavender hair must have been Hinata's mother, as he could not remember anyone else in the village or the Hyuga clan having that hair color, besides Hinata her elf. Kushina left Naruto in the company of a few other boys around his age, hoping they would become acquainted while she went off to talk to the lavender-haired woman. Yep, must be Hinata's mother if my mom and her are such good friends, thought Naruto. He turned to face another boy, around his age. Hello, the boy said, bowing to Naruto. Now things were really getting weird. Someone was actually bowing to him. The boy was obviously Hyuga, possessing the pale eyes that indicated the presence of the Byakugan. He had longer hair that went down to his shoulder blades. His facial expression was kind yet had a slight hint of arrogance that Naruto somehow was familiar with. It's pleased to make your acquaintance. I'm Niji Hyuga. Niji! It came back to Naruto instantly. This was Niji. Flashback. Naruto was standing in the middle of the arena facing Niji. It was the first match of the Chunin exam finals, the genius of the Hyuga clan versus the failure. Naruto had just been thrown back when Niji unleashed his Kaiten, a main family jutsu that he had been able to reverse engineer. The next thing he knew was getting hit by another of Niji's reverse engineered moves, the Hack Rokujian Sho. I have hit 64 of your Tenketsu, you can no longer stand. Stay on your knees before a power that you cannot change and realize your worthlessness. Having your dreams come true through hard work is an illusion, scoffed Niji. Naruto struggled, unable to move his body, as he rose to his feet, shocking most people in the stands, and especially Niji. You should just give up. I have no grudge against you. Well, I do. Why? Why, if you're so strong, did you attack Hinata like that, who was trying so hard? Automatically deciding she's a loser? I don't know what the hell happened, but pieces of shit like you who call other people losers I will never forgive, declared Naruto. A quick explanation later that Naruto was having trouble remembering. Naruto had managed to clear his chakra network by tapping into the Kyuubi's chakra and had begun to go on the offensive, surprising everyone present with his sudden increase in power. An explosion followed their next attack, sending the two fighters into the ground, creating a pair of craters. Niji was the first to emerge, only to be socked in the chin as Naruto exploded from the ground beneath him. Naruto's last words to Niji in that fight were, stop whining about stupid crap like destiny. It can't be changed, blah blah. After all, you're not a loser like me. End flashback. There were parts of that memory that Naruto was having a hard time remembering, but one thing was sure, Niji was no longer the ass he once was after that fight. In fact, Naruto had gained a great deal of respect for Niji after Niji decided to change. But there was something different about this Niji. This Niji wasn't an ass, or at least wasn't acting like one. Something must have happened to Niji between now and the Chunin exams. However, he couldn't quite recall. Still, Naruto couldn't help but laugh a little. Niji had once stated that you have to be born to be a Hokage. Naruto was just trying to think of what Niji's reaction would have been if he knew Naruto's dad was in fact a Hokage at the time of their match. Hi Niji, I'm Naruto Namikaze, said Naruto, smiling and extending a friendly hand to Naruto. About an hour passed and Naruto had been playing with Niji. Wait, Niji? Playing? Yep, he would need to get his head checked out after this. Regardless, about half an hour later, all the guests had finally arrived and it was time to get started with the party. Hayashi emerged from the house, holding a small Hinata's hand. Naruto looked over and could see the girl trying to hide behind her father's robes. Even in this timeline, she was still shy. Everyone gathered to greet the clan head and heiress, and Hayashi went around introducing everyone. Hello Kushina-san. Hayashi had come around to Naruto and his mother. Hello Hyuga-san, responded Kushina. Ah, she's so cute. Kushina was trying her best to resist the urge to start pinching Hinata's cheeks, something Naruto had learned to avoid at any costs. I thank you for stopping by and bringing Naruto-kun with you, said Hayashi, looking down at the blonde boy who shared a strong resemblance to the current Hokage. It was no problem. I'm sorry my husband couldn't stop by, but sadly Hokage business got in the way, said Kushina. Naruto turned his attention to the little Hinata across from him. She caught his glance and began blushing a little, which however has not picked up by Naruto as he had his eyes closed while smiling. The following party really wasn't much of a party, just some sort of gathering where the adults were talking to one another and the kids were playing together. Niji, Naruto, and two other boys were playing together, kicking a ball towards one another. The ball was heading towards Naruto until it instantly disappeared. Naruto looked around in surprise, trying to find where it went, looking up to see his dad behind him holding the ball and smiling. He was then bombarded by a few comments of "Whoa, your dad's the Hokage," and stuff like that from the boys he was playing with. Ah, Hokage-sama. Pleasure of you to drop by, said Hayashi, coming over to greet Minato. I just thought I'd stop by after signing the treaty with Kumo, said Minato. Naruto could feel something in his mind. Something was supposed to happen today regarding Kumo, but he still couldn't quite put his finger on it. Then it finally caught him. One thing he had finally remembered was that Niji always wore something to cover up his forehead, like some kind of scar or curse seal. Now Naruto knew what day it was. Today was the day that Kumo would try and kidnap Hinata, only to fail when Hayashi killed the leader of the Kumo ninja. As a result, Hizashi, Niji's dad, would be sacrificed because he was Hayashi's twin, and Niji would be condemned to a lonely childhood, plagued by the curse mark that the main branch had used to kill his father. Of course, Niji would realize that Hizashi had sacrificed himself of his own free will, but still that was tonight. The questions, should he intervene? Should he try to save Niji's father? Began to echo in his head. As Naruto left the party, he was still thinking on what to do. He went to bed at around 9 p.m., but really just stayed up thinking. Thinking what he should do. The first thing he was asking was, should he interfere? Should he try to save Niji's dad? Now, this was Naruto, and for Naruto, the answer was easy. The reason he had come back in time was to better everything. His own life and his friend's life. To ensure that they would survive and be happy, that was the reason he came back. He knew the pain of not having any parents, and he finally remembered that it was the death of Niji's father that had caused the Hyuga genius so much pain. There was no way he could let Niji suffer again. His conscience just wouldn't let him. He would act, and he would have to act soon, as it was already getting late. Naruto snuck out of the Namake's estate, making sure to transform himself as he did so. After all, it would draw too much attention to him if everyone saw the Hokage's son running through the village late at night. He had transformed himself into a teenage ninja with a full black body suit that covered every aspect of his body, except his eyes. He tried to hop up onto the roof, but realized his body wasn't in the shape to be leaping across buildings like ninja yet, so he settled to just running along the roads and alleys. He reached the Hyuga compound and used as much effort as he could to station himself in a tree, just outside the compound. He knew this was at least Hinata's house, as he remembered her coming out of it during the party. Now all he had to do was wait for the Kumo ninja to come. Not a few minutes later, a masked ninja, most likely the Kumo ninja, emerged from the house, carrying a blanketed bundle that was most likely Hinata. Naruto wanted to wait to act until they were away from the compound so that he wouldn't draw any attention, but he noticed Hayashi coming out of a door, just around the corner. It would only be a matter of seconds before Hayashi and the kidnapper met one another, and Hayashi killed the kidnapper. He had to act now. As Naruto jumped down from the tree, Hayashi turned the corner, noticing someone had kidnapped what looked to be his daughter. However, before he could make a move, a black figure tackled the kidnapper and grabbed the blanketed Hinata before she could fall to the ground. He took a quick look into the bundle, seeing that it was in fact Hinata and that she had been woken by this. Hinata felt as if she was flying through the air until finally coming to a halt, as if someone had caught her. She was somehow wrapped up in a blanket until someone peeled away the blanket, revealing a masked ninja with cerulean blue eyes. She had seen these eyes before, but she couldn't remember where. However, she could see that there was a hint of relief along with a hint of sadness in them. Naruto set the bundled Hinata down and unmasked the kidnapper, revealing it to be the head Kumo ninja. It was also around this time that he saw Hayashi run towards him, and he began to make his retreat. Naruto backed off, returning to the top of the walls, but hesitating for a moment. Hayashi had not followed him, which he was grateful for. If Hayashi had not been distracted by his daughter lying on the ground and an unconscious Kumo ninja on Hyuga grounds, he would have most certainly pursued Naruto, and Naruto would not have been able to get away, considering he had nearly tripped over that tree branch the moment he decided to make his move. He still wasn't used to using this body and found that he was still rather clumsy, yet it was good enough to tackle, more like fall on top of, the Kumo ninja. He turned around, just long enough to see Hayashi signal to one of the guards to go and get the Hokage. Thankfully, he didn't kill the kidnapper. Good. That went better than expected. Niji, enjoy your life with your father. I promised you in the other time that I would change the clan, and I will keep that promise even here. But hopefully, this will help ease some of your suffering, thought Naruto, before taking off. Minato was rudely awakened by a knocking on his door and someone shouting Hokage-sama. He gave his wife a quick kiss, before quickly changing into his standard Hokage attire and answering his door. Outside, he saw Hizashi at his door. Hokage-sama, come quickly. An incident has occurred at the Hyuga compound. An attempted kidnapping of Hinata-sama by the Kumo head ninja, said Hizashi. With that, Minato took off in the direction of the Hyuga compound. Naruto was mentally patting himself on the back. He wasn't sure what the outcome would be now that Hyuga Hizashi would live, but that was all that mattered. He wouldn't be the only one with a living parent that should be dead. The night of the incident, Minato arrived at the Hyuga compound to find the Kumo head ninja restrained and unconscious, but alive. Early the next morning, a letter was sent to the Raikage, demanding an explanation for the attempted kidnapping. The Raikage responded with the same response he had in the original timeline, that Konoha had unjustifiably attacked a Kumo ninja. The letter he sent was for the Kumo ninja to be returned, alive, to Kumogakure, and for Konoha to hand over Hyuga Hayashi as a sort of compensation. However, they didn't count on the interrogation expertise of one Marino Ibiki. Within a day of the incident, Ibiki was able to get a full confession out of the Kumo head ninja, forcing the Raikage to eat his previous demand. The following negotiations resulted in Minato being able to return the head ninja in exchange for a few prisoners that Kumo had captured during the war, including Yumino Rakano, Irika's father. In the original timeline, Irika's parents had died during the Kyuubi attack, but Naruto's intervention had allowed for Irika's parents to live. Unfortunately, as a result, Irika's father was captured by Kumo forces about 2 years later during a skirmish between the two nations. However, this incident basically allowed for Irika to be reunited with both of his parents. Now this also got Naruto thinking. This time travel thing was becoming complicated and quick. He already wasn't sure of a few outcomes, and now one more thing was added to that list. Would Irika still become Irika-sensei? The Irika-sensei who had treated Naruto to ramen every now and then, the Irika-sensei who basically became a big brother figure to Naruto? Still, regardless of how Irika would turn out, he felt happy that Irika would not grow up alone either. Speaking of Irika, Naruto was riding along on top of his dad's shoulders one day, wearing the Hokage hat on top of his head for his dad, when he spotted a small kitten with a red bow in its ear dash across the street. Chasing the kitten was a group of 3 genin, one of which just so happened to be Irika as a 13-year-old genin. Naruto laughed at that. He couldn't believe that was the Irika who gave him and Team 7 the very same cat mission. Oh, the irony. Naruto and Minato arrived at the Hokage Tower. Minato had brought Naruto to work after Naruto had reaffirmed to him that he wanted to be Hokage like his dad. Since Kushina was away on a mission, Jiraiya was doing well Jiraiya stuff, and Kakashi was who knows where. Minato was stuck watching Naruto for the day. Besides, he figured he would take Naruto to the top of the tower and work on his son's training a little when he got a break. A knock was heard on the door, and in stepped someone Naruto was not intending on seeing until the Chunin exams. Hokage-sama, the newcomer hissed. A small hint of disrespect and hatred present in his voice. Naruto's blood boiled, and if he had the Kyuubi sealed inside him, there was a very good chance said demon would have been unleashed upon Konoha at this moment. Standing inside the office was the man that had caused Naruto so much suffering and hardship in the previous timeline. The man who took his best friend away from him. The one who had killed the Sandaime in the previous timeline, Orochimaru. If the Kyuubi had been sealed inside Naruto, there is a good chance it would have been unleashed now. Standing in his dad's office was the one man that had caused Naruto so much pain in his previous timeline. The one who was responsible for the death of his grandfather figure, and many other of his comrades. The one responsible for taking his best friend away and turning him down a path of darkness, Orochimaru. Naruto studied the snake for some hint as to whether this was a different Orochimaru or if this was the same Orochimaru as the one from the original timeline. Sadly, it was easy to tell that this Orochimaru held very little respect for the man he was facing and even a hint of hatred. He had most likely been masking his emotions, but some of it still managed to seep out. This was the Orochimaru who would betray the village and come back, only to try and raze it to the ground. Naruto wanted to kill this man. He wanted to kill him before anything bad could happen. He didn't want to give Orochimaru another second to scheme and plan his destruction of the village. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still a 3-year-old, he would have lunged at the man with all his might and killed him. However, he knew that he currently did not have the power to handle the snake, nor could he with his dad around and most likely a half-dozen ANBU hiding in the shadows of the room. Naruto knew Orochimaru was due to betray the village any day now. He remembered Jiraiya saying something like this. If he remembered correctly, it would be soon that Orochimaru left. If everything played out as it had in the original timeline, Orochimaru would return during the Chunin exams in Konoha, just after he became a genin. If everything worked out correctly, it was there that he'd do away with the snake once and for all, assuming his dad didn't do anything first. Orochimaru turned and left the office after handing the Hokage a document. Before he left, Naruto caught that grin that he had known meant Orochimaru was up to no good. However, getting worked up would not help, and Naruto did his best to calm himself down. For the rest of the night, Naruto did his best to mask his emotions. He was forcing himself not to act and allow everything to flow naturally. This time travel stuff really was tricky. The more he changed, the less he knew. It was all about choosing the right moment to act. Should he act too early, the future becomes cloudy and uncertain, and he would no longer be able to prevent certain things from happening. Would he act too late, the future that he had escaped from would return and his efforts would have been for nothing. And unfortunately, now was not the right time. No, the right time was definitely the Chunin exams, when it was just he and Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. Minato arrived at his office early the next morning, only to have a staff member from the hospital knock on his door. Hokage-sama. There is something you need to see, said the doctor in an urgent tone. Minato rushed off, following the doctor as he was led to a room in the hospital. On the bed in the room laid a young purple-haired girl who he recognized as Mitarashi Enko, Orochimaru's student. She looked to be in extreme labor and pain as multiple monitors were hooked up to her, monitoring her vitals. I see that she is having some sort of medical condition, but why does this involve me? Asked Minato. It was not his duty to see to the affairs of the hospital, even if one of his ninja was hospitalized. That was the duty of Konoha's Surgeon General. It's because of what is causing her condition, sir, said the medic on duty, as he rolled Anko's neck over to reveal a bruise that was shaped like 3 Tomo Orochimaru's curse seal of heaven. "What?" said Minato in shock. He took a look at the mark and realized that it was indeed some sort of cursed seal. "Wake her up." "But sir, she's in extreme pain." "Waking her up would just be cruel," said the medic. "I only need a minute to ask a single question." "I need to confirm a suspicion," Minato replied. The doctor complied, administering the reagent to her for that would counteract the anesthesia. A few minutes passed and Anko began to stir, before crying out in pain and clutching her neck. The pain, she cried out. "Anko, please. I need to ask you one thing," said Minato as the doctors did their best to restrain her. "Where did you get that mark? Or Orochimaru?" she said before shutting her eyes at the pain. Minato sighed as the doctors re-administered the anesthesia. Minato closed his eyes for a moment in thought. He had suspected Orochimaru of doing experiments on this level, but until now, he didn't have proof. He turned to one of the ANBU. "Bor, get the Sandaime and the rest of your company and be in my office in 15. Hi, Hokage-sama," the ANBU addressed his leader before taking off. 15 minutes later, Minato, Sarutobi, and a company of 4 ANBU were inside a sealed office. "For months, I've been suspicious of a certain shinobi's actions. Just last week, one of the ANBU uncovered a laboratory that had been used for human experimentation. Inside, we found the bodies of 14 toddlers. 13 of them are already dead with one in critical condition. They were subjects of said experiments. Just minutes ago, Mitarashi Anko was admitted to the hospital in severe condition with what appeared to be some sort of juinjutsu on her neck. It was then that my suspicions into the shinobi's identity were confirmed. The one responsible for these atrocious acts is Orochimaru," said Minato. "Minato, are you sure?" said Sarutobi in shock. He did not want to believe that Orochimaru was responsible for such monstrosities, one of his own students. However, in the back of his mind, he knew that it was Orochimaru. He had noticed his student becoming ever more isolated and frustrated with the village ever since Minato was appointed Hokage. In fact, there was a reason he didn't appoint the genius Sannin Hokage, and in his mind, he couldn't dismiss the fact that he saw this coming. Prepare yourselves. I've learned of the location of one of his secret laboratories and I intend to end his experiments once and for all," said Minato. He turned towards the door with the 4 ANBU in his trail. "Minato, wait," called out the Sandaime. "I'm coming with you. Orochimaru was my student, and it is my responsibility to see that he is punished for his crimes." The Sandaime ripped off his clothes, revealing his black battle armor underneath. The ANBU whom Minato had appointed to trail Orochimaru and investigate these laboratories let the company of 6 deep into the tunnels and catacombs beneath Konoha. At the end of the damp tunnel, there was a door that was cracked open. The 6 took positions outside the door before bursting into the room. The sight was not pretty. Orochimaru was standing over a table that had what looked to be the remnants of a dissected human body. Blood covered the table, and around the room were bodies practically sewn to the wall. "Heh, it looks like you finally found me," hissed the snake. "How unfortunate. Orochimaru. What's the meaning of this?" exclaimed the shocked Sandaime. All 6 of the ninja were stunned at the scene that was before them. They had prepared themselves for anything, but this was still just too much. "I was surprised someone made it through all my traps, but considering who's here, I'm actually not surprised," said Orochimaru. "So you're the one responsible for the disappearance of many ninja and children alike," said Minato, glaring at Orochimaru. "And this explains your strange behavior as well. Orochimaru, why would you of all shinobi do a thing like this?" asked one of the ANBU. The ANBU was silenced when Orochimaru mentioned killing the ANBU. "Speak! What were you doing here?" demanded the Sandaime. "Well, it's useless to play dumb, I suppose. I've been working on developing a jutsu," explained Orochimaru. "You've been experimenting on humans for a purpose of developing a jutsu?" exclaimed a disgusted Minato. "Kenjutsu," sighed the Sandaime. "What on earth did you hope to achieve?" "Everything there is," explained the Sannin. "I want to obtain all the jutsu and gain a true understanding of everything in this world. The first person to mix blue and yellow named that color green. The first only want to do the same thing. If blue is the chakra and yellow is the seal, then green is the jutsu. But in order to obtain every possible jutsu in truth, it would require an eternity. You see, only the one who understands everything after spending such time on this can be fittingly called the ultimate being. Sadly, the life of the body is too short. When you die, everything ends there." "Orochimaru, you can't, that jutsu can't be," said the Sandaime. "Yes, it's what you think," said the Sannin. "The spell of immortality." Minato disappeared in a flash and reappeared behind Orochimaru, digging his own kunai into the back of the snake's chest. "What you've been doing is wrong by all means. It violates the very foundations of humanity and morals. Your ambitions will end here, huh?" Minato stopped his talking with the sound of Orochimaru's laughter. "Oh, I will live on. And I will perfect my immortality. Once I do, I'll be back in the village you've come to know, and love will be at the mercy of my will. When I return, the leaf will burn," said Orochimaru as he slumped over and a plaster-like substance peeled away from his face. "Another body?" said Minato. "Orochimaru, what path are you going down? What are you becoming?" growled Hiruzen. The 4 Anbu and 2 Kages surrounded the body that they had originally thought of as Orochimaru. A quick examination revealed it to be nothing more than a corpse that Orochimaru had been manipulating in his place. It was clear that Orochimaru had already left, and no one knew where he had disappeared to. The 6 of them returned to Minato's office going over what they had just seen. One thing was clear, Orochimaru had abandoned the village in pursuit of his own selfish ambitions. From now on, he would be classified as an S-class criminal, which practically amounted to a kill-on-sight order for the Sannin. A knock was heard on the office of the door. "Hokage-sama, come quickly! Jiraiya-sama's at the village gates and he appears injured." Minato and Hiruzen rushed to the village gate to find Jiraiya receiving medical attention to his injuries, in particular an arm. He looked over at his student and sensei with a regretful look. "I'm sorry. I couldn't stop him. Orochimaru is gone, abandoned the village." A few people who had gathered gasped. "Orochimaru, one of the heroes of 2 wars, abandoned the village?" Minato stood up to speak. "Yes. We recently learned that Orochimaru had been conducting underground experiments that defy the very principles of humanity for at least the past few months. When we confronted him earlier, we saw that he was no longer the Orochimaru that you looked up to during the war. He has abandoned the village, and he has threatened to return only to destroy the leaf," said Minato. A few people gasped in horror. "But do not fear. Do not worry. We, the leaf, are strong. Orochimaru cannot break us, and he will pay dearly for his crimes against humanity. As of today, Orochimaru is considered a traitor of Konoha and will be treated as one. Should he ever dare come near the leaf again, I will do everything in my power to ensure that he is the one who breaks, not Konoha." Many of the people cheered at the Yondame's declaration. In the back of the crowd was Kushina, holding Naruto. They were at the park when they saw Minato rush down the street, and as a result followed. Naruto was practically beating himself up inside. He should have killed that snake when he had the chance, but from what he overheard from the conversation between his parents later that night, Orochimaru had left days ago, leaving behind a corpse copy of himself to deliver the message to his dad and Gigi. Another few months passed, making it about 3.5 years since Naruto had returned from the future and was born. The only thing he had dared to change, besides the Kyuubi attack, was the survival of Niji's father. The training his parents had him doing was still nothing special, but it was better than nothing. Naruto knew that they didn't want to start training him right away, giving him some time to be a kid before entering the life of a shinobi, but they had decided to work with him a little until he turned 5. It was then that they would increase his training and really begin to work with him before he entered the academy in the spring of his 6th year. All children desiring to be shinobi entered the academy at age 6. This was a newer regulation put in place after the wars to ensure that shinobi weren't being pushed in and out of the academy system to a point where they were not ready to handle the responsibilities of being a shinobi. They would then remain in the academy for a total of 6 years, with the first 2 years being basic schooling, such as mathematics, literature, and physics, with the true Shinobi Academy taking over in the 3rd year of the academy and going for 4 years. While this was not entirely what Naruto had planned, he couldn't argue with finally being able to be a kid for once. In his past timeline, he was practically neglected at the orphanage, being given the bare minimum to survive, until he was kicked out at age 5. It was then that the Sandaime gave him an apartment, and Naruto began to live on his own, living mainly off of instant ramen and a monthly allowance. He wanted to get to training as there was a lot he had to prepare for. For now, his training consisted of just some simple physical conditioning exercises and some very basic chakra exercises, supervised mainly by his mother, who was on standby in Konoha's shinobi forces for a few more years, until Naruto joined the academy. She had also begun introduction martial aspects to the training, teaching him the very foundations to the Uzumaki Taijutsu style. He remembered that back in the academy, he had always been passable in Taijutsu, but he was still never that good at sparring and his Taijutsu form had always been rather sloppy. Now with his mom teaching him Taijutsu, he was excited that he could shine a bit in class, instead of getting his butt kicked every time. Naruto had come to the park, and had surprisingly found a young Shikamaru and Shuji there. These two had always been some of Naruto's closer friends and a few of the people who had actually played with Naruto as a child. It felt good to be hanging out with the guys again, and he was hoping everything between them would turn out the same as it did in the original timeline. So far, everything was looking good as Shikamaru was still as lazy as ever and Shuji was never without some sort of snack at hand. Sitting over on a bench were the mothers of the 3 boys, Kushina, Akamichi Katani, and Nara Yoshino. They were giggling between one another, so they were most likely gossiping about something. As Shikamaru would say, troublesome. The time came though and the 3 were forced to part ways as it came close to dinner time. Naruto enjoyed his brief time with some of his old friends and would have to try to become good friends with them sometime soon, as they had always been 2 people he could count on in the past. On the way back to the house, Naruto and Kushina ran into someone Naruto had actually been hoping to meet soon, Sasuke. "Hello Mikoto," Kushina greeted with a warm and friendly voice. Kushina Mikoto replied, equally warm. Both women were holding the hands of 2 3-year-old boys. "And I guess this is Naruto? Boy, has he grown." "Nah, deep down, he's still my baby boy," said Kushina, deeply embarrassing Naruto. Sasuke laughed at this. Wait, Sasuke laughed? Sasuke, he's laughing? Wow, that's weird, thought Naruto. This definitely wasn't the Sasuke he remembered. Ah, and this must be Sasuke, said Kushina, moving her hand closer to Sasuke's face. Naruto knew what was coming and he was tempted to save the boy, but this is what he gets for laughing at his misfortunes. Kushina began pinching Sasuke's cheeks, causing Mikoto to laugh just a little and embarrassing Sasuke as well. Now both boys had been embarrassed by their mothers. Oh, I don't think you two have met, said Mikoto. Well, we kind of have met, but none of you know that, thought Naruto. Naruto smiled and offered his hand to Sasuke. Namikaze Naruto, nice to meet you. HN. Uchiha Sasuke, same here, said Sasuke. The two boys shook hands. This first meeting was much smoother than the first meeting between the two boys in the previous timeline. HN? I guess some things never change, thought Naruto. Hey Kushina, why don't you bring Naruto over to play sometime? Sasuke doesn't have a lot of boys in the family that are his age, and I think it would be nice for the two of them to get to know each other better, suggested Mikoto. Well, what do you think, Naruto, said Kushina. Naruto looked up at his mom and smiled with a look in his eyes that said, really? Can we please? Well, looks like Naruto wants to. How about I bring him over Saturday and they can spend the day getting to know each other? Saturday works just fine. I'll see the two of you then, said Mikoto. The two women took their sons and walked away from each other. Sasuke, this time it will be different. I won't let Orochimaru take you. I won't let you go down that path again. I will save you, thought Naruto, more determined than ever. Naruto being dumbfounded would be considered an understatement in this case. Where the hell am I? There is no way I'm in the past, thought Naruto. Today, his mother had brought him over to the Uchiha for a little play day with his new, old, friend Uchiha Sasuke. Yet, something about this Sasuke was off. This Sasuke was not contemplating joining Orochimaru. This Sasuke was not scheming on how to kill his brother. This Sasuke hadn't been twisted and manipulated by Madara. No, this Sasuke was having fun, running around like a normal 4-year-old would, and laughing. Wait, laughing? Okay, now Naruto was sure that he had screwed something up and ended up in a parallel universe instead of the past. However, this is how Sasuke was before the Uchiha massacre. In short, this Sasuke was happy. Naruto and Kushina had just arrived at the Uchiha compound when Naruto saw this strange Sasuke. Uchiha Mikoto instantly came out and greeted them, and before Naruto and Sasuke knew it, the two mothers left them to go do mother stuff. Hey, do you want to go play soccer? Said Sasuke, turning to Naruto. Okay, now things really are getting freaky. Who the hell is this, and what happened to Sasuke? Thought Naruto. He couldn't believe Sasuke was actually asking him to play a game. Then again, he couldn't believe anyone had wanted to play with him, yet it seemed like everyone wanted to play with him now that he was the Hokage's son and not the village's plague, or the demon brat. The only person who didn't always want to play with him was Shikamaru, and that was completely understandable as the Shikamaru in this timeline was still as lazy as the other timeline. Even then, Shikamaru would occasionally play with Naruto at the park whenever they met. Sure, replied Naruto to Sasuke's request. Sasuke smiled and ran off towards the field, Naruto following closely behind. Naruto was going to get as much of this Sasuke as he could before Sasuke became an emo Avenger. Then again, Naruto was hoping that would never happen. In his original timeline, the reason Sasuke became the emo Avenger that Naruto knew and loved was that Itachi had massacred the entire Uchiha clan. That happened because the Uchiha clan planned to revolt against the village as a result of discrimination and isolation caused by the growing distrust of the village. It was believed that the Uchiha clan had a hand in the Kyuubi attack, and more villagers began to resent the Uchiha as a result, when the only one involved in the attack was Uchiha Madara. While Madara might have been an Uchiha, he had abandoned the clan decades ago, back in the era of the founding of the village and the Shodaime Hokage. Since then, everyone in the village had pretty much dissociated Madara from the Uchiha clan, until the Kyuubi attack. Yet there was no Kyuubi attack. That had been foiled the moment Naruto and Kurama returned to the past. Did that mean that this Sasuke was here to stay? Naruto hoped so. He would rather have the happy and smiling Sasuke, even if it did feel out of place at times, over the brooding emo Avenger of the Uchiha clan. For the rest of the morning, Sasuke and Naruto played a few games of soccer on the clan fields with the rest of the children around their age in the clan. Naruto soon got over the awkwardness and began to enjoy himself again. This was the normal routine for him: go play with someone, wonder why they were actually playing with him, and then just forget it the previous question and have fun. However, there was one thing about Sasuke that was still the same as the Sasuke in the original timeline. This Sasuke had a bit of a competitive edge. Whenever Naruto managed to score a goal, Sasuke seemed like he had to score 2 goals in response. Naruto would then match Sasuke's 2 goals and Sasuke would score 3 in response. Yep, his future rival was still in there. Lunch came in the early afternoon and both boys were panting hard. Both were bruised and battered from their little battle when their mothers came out. As expected, both mothers were instantly suffocating their own sons with their closeness as they checked the scrapes and bruises on their respected boys. So what do you want to be when you get older? Naruto asked Sasuke. The two were out on the porch eating a pair of bento boxes for lunch. The what do you want to be question was a common question for children to ask each other. Well, I know I want to become a shinobi, and a strong one too. Just like my Nizan, said Sasuke. What's your Nizan like? Asked Naruto. Itachi Nizan's so cool and strong. But he's always there for me when I really need him. Especially after father's strict training. But everyone's always comparing me to him, said Sasuke. No matter what I do, it always seems like Itachi always gets the praise. Surprisingly, Naruto saw a little bit of his former self inside this Sasuke. The part of himself that was always looking for attention. Suddenly, Naruto and Sasuke heard a voice behind them and they turned to see who it was. Nizan! Exclaimed Sasuke. Naruto looked into the eyes of one who would eventually kill his entire clan for the sake of stopping a civil war, something that forced said person to give up everything they once cherished. Hello, Sasuke-kun, greeted the newcomer. And I see you have a friend. It's nice to meet you, Namikaze-san. Naruto corrected Naruto. I'd like to be called just Naruto, if that's okay. Very well, Naruto-kun, said the newcomer. Naruto, this is my Nizan, Itachi, said Sasuke, introducing Naruto to the one person he used to hate, but eventually developed a great deal of respect for. Hello, Itachi-san, greeted Naruto. What do I do about you? Will you betray your clan this time around? Will you throw everything away? Or can I find some way that will make you stay? Some way that will allow you to look after Sasuke? Again, Naruto still had no idea as to whether or not Itachi would be forced to kill his clan. He would have to play it as if it still was going to happen and then be happy that it didn't if it didn't happen. He knew one thing for sure though. Itachi was probably one of the biggest factors for keeping Sasuke in Konoha. If he could help Itachi, the chances were much better he could save Sasuke. The rest of the afternoon passed with the two boys continuing to play together. Naruto still couldn't help but feel that everything they played turned into some sort of competition. Perhaps we were truly meant to be rivals. Perhaps it was fate crap. Now I'm starting to sound like Neji, Naruto thought to himself. Still, despite the newly found rivalry, the two genuinely had fun, that is until Kushina and Mikoto came and embarrassed them a little before they had to call it a day. Minato was stressed out, and that would be considered an understatement. His day began with an exciting council meeting that really shouldn't have lasted more than an hour, let alone 4, if a few elder council members hadn't opened their mouths. Then there was the load of paperwork on his desk, primarily containing reports and requests from activity in the eastern part of the Land of Fire, the part of the country that was near the Land of Water, where a very bloody civil war was currently being fought. As such, this resulted in an influx of missions from merchants, fishermen, and previous Kirigakure customers taking their business to Konoha, landing a few huge piles of paperwork on Minato's desk. To make things even worse, he had his hands full with the Hyugas and Inuzukas. Inuzuka Hana, the Inuzuka heir, and Hyuga Majiro, a member of the Hyuga main family, had been placed on a genin team with some loudmouth by the name of Hoshino Ringo. Inuzuka Hana was the top girl of her class and Hyuga Majiro was the top boy of the class. As per tradition, they were paired with the class dobe, Ringo, on a genin team. The team had failed the true genin exam, and as such, Hana and Majiro were forced to be held back. Of course, this caused an outrage in their respective clans. Before Minato could think on that further, he heard a knock on his door. The last thing he needed right now was to be interrupted, at least until he heard who was on the other side of the door. Minakuin, can I come in? Asked Kushina from outside the Hokage's office. Sure, Kushi-chan, replied Minato. Kushina entered, Naruto not far behind. Kushina made her way behind her husband and began giving him a much-needed shoulder rub. Minakuin, why are you getting all stressed out again? Asked Kushina. It's that stupid tradition. You know, the one where you place the top girl and boy with the worst student in each class on the same genin team? Said Minato. Kushina nodded. Inuzuka Hana and Hyuga Majiro were good potential candidates, but they are being forced to be held back by that tradition. They failed because the final member of their team, Hoshino Ringo, was too far behind them and he eventually got frustrated at them until he just exploded. I get why the teams were originally formed like this, but wouldn't it be better if the teams were formed to succeed, not fail? In his head, Naruto was recalling his genin team placement. Of course he had been the class dobe with Sasuke and Sakura being the top boy and girl in the class, respectively. It was true that he had heard horror stories of those teams falling apart, and it was true that his team almost did as well, but they were lucky and managed to pass Kakashi's test. Well, why not change it then? You are the Hokage after all, you can do whatever you want, can't you? Said Kushina, really getting into Minato's back rub. I guess I could do that, oh, right there, said Minato as he began to feel the effects of Kushina's hands at work on him. Then how about you do? I'm sure that would relieve some stress in the future, said Kushina as the tone of her voice actually turned a little on the seductive side. Or I know a way to relieve some stress right now, Minakuin. She leaned her head down to kiss her husband as Minato responded in full to her. All at the same time, Naruto was witnessing the whole turn of events, and he began blushing a rather bright red. And then he felt the sudden urge to cough for some reason. Minato and Kushina heard this cough and immediately remembered that Naruto was in the room as well. The blushes on their faces were probably brighter than Kushina's hair. Needless to say, the following days, Minato reformed the groups for this year's graduating genin class, and there was a greatly improved success rate with the teams that had passed. Instead of grouping students based on their standings in the class, He and some of the academy teachers looked more in depth at the abilities of the students and formed the groups so that the students would be around the same level as each other, and the members of the teams would be able to work well with one another. The fail rate went from about 66% to 33%, and the Jonin instructors actually began to see that they were better off when teaching students that were on the same level as one another, instead of having one genin on a team that may be far ahead of the rest of the team, being held back by the other two teammates, or far behind and holding back the other two teammates. Time skip, about 2 years. A little more than 2 years had passed since Naruto and Sasuke had first met. It was also almost 6 years since Naruto had come back. Sasuke had his 6th birthday just the other week, and Naruto's was about 2 months away. In about 6 months, they would be starting at the academy. For their first 2 years at the academy, the main focus would be on general schooling, such as math, language, and history. Naruto wasn't looking forward to this that much, except that he was actually going to the academy. He was looking forward to the shinobi classes which, while there were few of them in the first 2 years, were still there. For the most part, the shinobi classes that he would take for the first years was nothing more than physical conditioning and an introduction to weapons. Sadly, they wouldn't get to the jutsu portion of the class until the 3rd year, so Naruto still had to wait before we could start showing off jutsu left and right. On his own, he had relearned how to do the Academy 3, and he even found that he could still do his signature jutsu, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He was glad that he still had large chakra reserves, as that was one thing he didn't think he would be able to live without. Unfortunately, he had no explanation on how he knew a B-rank jutsu at the age of almost 6, so he wasn't able to use that jutsu yet. Speaking of shinobi training and jutsu, Minato and Kushina had steadily increased his training since his 5th birthday, the landmark they set where they would start training their son for real. Naruto was thankful that because of his parents' training, he did have one jutsu that he could use. His parents had taught him the Henj no Jutsu, and while basic, at least it gave him something. Even though his parents were beginning training, they still made sure he had plenty of time to play and be a 5-year-old. It was common for Naruto to go to the park and play with a few of the boys who would eventually become his teammates and friends in the previous timeline, most notably Shikamaru, Chuji, Kiba, Shino, and Sasuke. Naruto knew that if everything went well, they would all become incredibly powerful shinobi and great friends. Naruto was sure that Shikamaru, Chuji, Shino, and Kiba were already getting clan training as well, but it was Sasuke's training that Naruto was really focused on. The past year or so, it was not uncommon for Naruto and Sasuke to be training together. Once a week, Naruto would go train with Sasuke and his father, and on another day each week, Sasuke would come and train with Naruto and either Kushina, who had decided to become an active shinobi once again, or Minato, depending on who was most available that day. It was during this time that Naruto managed to show Sasuke the Henj no Jutsu that he had picked up from his parents, and being Sasuke, he soon had learned it. Both boys had somehow managed to pick up a jutsu that, while it was an academy-level jutsu, they should not have known for at least 3 years. Sasuke was glad that he even managed to get some praise out of his father for learning a jutsu before he entered the academy. The two of them really had become good friends, and it left Naruto wondering what happened in the past life. If they had somehow had the opportunity to become friends in the previous timeline, would it have happened? Perhaps he should have gone to Sasuke that one day he passed the Uchiha on the dock, the time when both of them knew the pain of being alone. One thing was for sure though, he would not lose his brother again, no matter what happened. A few more months had passed and Naruto had turned 6. It was about 2 months before he would start at the academy. Naruto had just finished with an exhausting morning of training. Normally, there would be a little bit of training in the afternoon, but Kushina and Minato were both finding themselves busy in the afternoon. As a result, Naruto was left to himself, although he really wasn't left to himself. The days when no one could watch over Naruto, Minato would usually assign an ANBU to keep an eye on him. In particular, the ANBU he would normally assign only had one eye to keep on him. Unlike normal ANBU though, Kakashi wouldn't keep to the shadows and simply tail Naruto. Sometimes he did, but other times he would appear and play with the boy a little. Kakashi had become fond of his sensei's son, and even Naruto would refer to Kakashi as Kakashi-Nizen. Perhaps it was just a cover for Naruto, but he did notice that Kakashi had acted more like an older brother to Naruto. This also raised the question of when did Kakashi learn that Naruto was Minato's son back in the previous timeline, or even why wasn't Kakashi a little bit more forward? This was a question Naruto didn't know the answer to, so he dropped it for now. Besides, it was the second Thursday of the month. It was today that a lot of the boys around his age would gather in the park for a large soccer game. Naruto actually enjoyed playing this, seeing as he wasn't shunned by every adult the moment he stepped foot in the park. On his way to the park, Naruto managed to pass Neji, walking along with his father. Neji gave Naruto a slight wave and Naruto returned the gesture before the two went their separate ways. Naruto couldn't help but feel a warm sense of accomplishment for helping save Neji from the loneliness that he had faced in the previous timeline. This Neji was actually happy and seemed to be rather carefree. Naruto arrived at the park, around the time when everyone else was getting there. The teams were picked and thankfully, the same mistake wasn't made like it was the last time they played. Everyone learned that Naruto and Sasuke had to be on opposite teams or else they would just dominate the other team by themselves. Basically, the two needed to be on opposite teams to cancel each other out, and this only helped to fuel the rivalry that was already going on between the two friends. Playing the game was Naruto, Sasuke, Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji, and a few other boys that Naruto didn't know very well. There was also one boy, a newcomer, that had shiny black hair and rather large, round eyes. The most defining feature though was the eyebrows. Is that Lee? Was all Naruto could think. Hello, I'm Rock Lee. May I join you? Asked Lee, politely. Hey, I'm Namikaze Naruto. There's an open spot on my team if you want to join, said Naruto, offering an invitation to Lee. Lee graciously accepted, and the game began. Already, the addition of Lee onto Naruto's team showed to be a mistake, and not in a bad way. Lee had skill and the physical stamina to keep up with Naruto and Sasuke, threatening to throw off the balance that used to be present. But still, it was merely a game and no one cared much as to who joined in. They would just need to find someone with the ability to match Lee. Naruto was a bit surprised at this. He was certain Lee had not met Gai-sensei yet, and already he was in good physical shape. Naruto's attention, however, was drawn away from the game when he noticed that there were a few girls off to the side playing by themselves. One of them was most definitely one Yamanaka Ino, as she had blonde hair, a hair color that Naruto remembered only Ino and her family and himself having in the village. He looked at a few other girls, most of which he didn't recognize, but then he caught a glimpse of pink behind Ino. Sakura Triumph was all Naruto could say before getting pelted in the side of the head with the soccer ball. Naruto opened his eyes a moment later to see Sasuke standing over him. Hey, quit being a dobe and pay attention, said Sasuke. Naruto twitched at the mentioning of dobe, and that did not go unnoticed to Sasuke. Naruto got to his feet and rubbed the side of his head. Before getting back into the game, Naruto took another glance over at where the girls were and saw Sakura again. Don't worry, Sakura-chan, even if you don't remember, I'll keep my promise to you. I'll make sure Sasuke is safe, thought Naruto before getting back into the game. Naruto! Wake up! Kushina's shouts echoed through the house as Naruto was jolted awake. At this time, Kushina came barging through the door. Get up! You're going to be late for your first day at the academy. What? Shouted Naruto as the panic began to set in and Naruto frantically began searching for something to wear. 5 minutes of panic dressing later, Naruto had probably won the award for the worst dressed kid in Konoha. Somehow, he managed to have his orange shorts on backwards, his shirt inside out, mismatched shoes and his socks. Let's not get started on that. In fact, the only thing that would be considered neat would be his hair, and even that was still shaggy and spiked. Minato got a good laugh out of his son's antics while Kushina rushed him back upstairs to change his clothes. When Naruto came back down, his orange shorts were on the proper way, his blue t-shirt was right side out and he had an orange vest on the outside. He had the correct pair of blue ninja sandals on, eliminating the mismatched sock, and his hair was still a mess. Unfortunately, nothing could be done about the hair. He had managed to inherit his father's genes when it came to hair, and Kushina realized soon in their relationship that spiky and messy was the best it was going to get. Giving Kushina a quick kiss, Minato grabbed Naruto and proceeded to take his son to the academy for the very first time. I can't believe it's already time for you to go to the academy, Minato said to Naruto. It felt like just yesterday that you were riding on my shoulders and sitting in a cradle in my office. Huh? Naruto looked up at his dad with a confused look and Minato just laughed. Don't worry, son. I'm sure you'll have lots of fun in the academy. You'll have all your friends, Sasuke, Kiba, Chuji, Shikamaru, Shino, and even Neji. And I'm sure you'll make tons of other friends, said Minato. And besides, you'll learn how to become a true shinobi there, not just through our lame training sessions, but I like our little training sessions. I'd rather be doing that than sitting through those reading classes and stuff that Neji keeps complaining about, said Naruto. I swear, if I hear him say no matter how much we dislike them, we were fated to take them again, I'm going to go crazy. Naruto had failed to prevent Neji from turning into his fate-obsessed future self. But a fate-obsessed Neji with a father had to be better than a fate-obsessed Neji without a father, right? At least he wouldn't hold that grudge against the main branch. Minato laughed at Naruto's complaints. I'm sorry to say, Naruto, but you have to take them. If you want to be a good ninja, then you need to be able to read, write, count, and know about our village's history. Well, the history class won't be too bad. You said they talk about the Hokages, right? Asked Naruto. Yep. And seeing as you keep saying you want to be a Hokage, you're going to have to know all about them, said Minato. But that's why I have you, shouted Naruto. Who better to learn about the Hokages than from the Hokage himself? Well, here we are. Now at least try to enjoy your first day and don't worry, you'll be doing a few ninja classes in the afternoon, said Minato, leaving Naruto at the academy gate. Here's some money. You'll have an hour for lunch and Ichiraku's isn't far from here, so you should be able to get some ramen. Awesome. Thanks, Dad, said Naruto, giving his dad a hug. Now your mother will be here to pick you up afterwards. Have fun, son, said Minato as Naruto turned and ran off through the courtyard of the academy into the building to his classroom. Minato felt a tear come to his face. They grow up so fast. I can't believe I'm back in the academy again. This is going to be great. No more being the dead last, thought Naruto. And what makes it even better is that I've got parents to greet me each day. No more sitting alone on that swing. And I'm actually going to have friends because their parents aren't going to hate me. Naruto arrived at his room and entered. The class was a little bigger than he remembered, but he knew that there would be a few kids who dropped out of the ninja program. However, the important people were here: Sasuke, Sakura, Shikamaru, Chuji, Ino, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino. Everyone that was in his class before and that had become his friends in the previous timeline were here. Naruto found his seat next to Sasuke, the same place it had been the last time he was here. Things certainly were nostalgic. In fact, the only person who wasn't there was Iruka-sensei. While Naruto desperately wished it had been Iruka teaching the class, he also knew that Iruka wouldn't become a teacher for 3 more years. When Naruto's teacher came in, he couldn't believe his eyes and nearly face planted out of his seat. It's the closet perv, Ebisu. He's really my teacher? Oh, this is going to be good. Welcome, class, to the first day of your time here at the academy studying to be great ninja of this great village. I'm Ebisu and I'll be your sensei for the next few years. Now, why don't we go around introducing ourselves? How about telling your name and any aspirations you may have? The introduction started near the front of the room with a few kids that Naruto did not recognize and went around until it reached Ino. I'm Yamanaka Ino. Someday I'm going to succeed my dad as the head of the Yamanaka clan. Ah yes, Ino. Daughter of Inoichi, the interrogation expert said Ebisu. The next person happened to be Sakura. I'm Haruno Sakura. I want to be the first shinobi of my family, Sakura said in a shy and quiet voice. That's right, Sakura was pretty shy at first until Ino helped her out of her shell. It was a shame they had to end their friendship in the academy due to Sasuke. Perhaps I can fix that, thought Naruto. The introductions came to Kiba. I'm Inuzuka Kiba and this is my buddy Akamaru, and I'm going to become the best hunter nin in the village one day, declared Kiba. Next up was Shino. Aburaim Shino, nothing else was really said. Shino was always never much of a talker, thought Naruto. It then came around to Shikamaru. Zzz, everyone's sweat dropped upon seeing the Nara napping within the first 5 minutes of class. Looks like I win, Sasuke said Naruto, turning to Sasuke. The two had made a bet with Naruto betting Shikamaru would fall asleep within the first hour of class. Shikamaru was suddenly awakened when an eraser was thrown at him by Ebisu. Apparently the closet perv didn't appreciate sleeping in class. Troublesome Nara. Shikamaru, can I go back to sleep now? Most of the people's faces faltered and Naruto couldn't help but laughing at his friend. Chuji was next. As Naruto had also expected, Chuji was munching on a bag of snacks. Akamichi Chuji munch, I want to be a strong ninja munch like my pa. Hinata was next. Hyuga H Hinata. IW want to be a strong and ninja like my father. Why yet kind L like my mother, stuttered Hinata. Still stutters, we're going to have to do something about that at some point in time, thought Naruto. After Hinata was someone Naruto did not expect but still remembered from the old timeline. I'm Kurama Yakumo and I want to become a strong ninja to make my clan proud. Yakumo. I remember now, she was that genjutsu genius who had a mental demon manifest in her head. Although if I remember correctly, Dad sealed away that thing for good last year, thought Naruto. Speaking of Kurama, I wonder how the old furball's doing? The introductions got around to Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke. I want to become a strong and skilled shinobi like my Nizan, Itachi. Naruto looked around and sure enough some of the female population of the class already had their eyes set on the Uchiha. Yep, he's definitely going to have the fangirls still, thought Naruto, who was finally next. I'm Namikaze Naruto and I'm going to take my dad's hat as the Hokage. Tebeo. When Naruto had first said that in the previous timeline, he had been laughed at and ridiculed by the class. However, there was none of that this time around. Ah yes, the son of our great Hokage. Well, if you want to become Hokage, I can show you the right way, said Ebisu. In fact, it sounds like all of you want to become great ninja. Well, just stick with me and I'll show you the shortcuts you need to accomplish your goals. Great, and I had enough of the closet perv in the previous timeline. So when's the first Henj no Jutsu test? That'll be good. Naruto let out a slight laugh. Unbeknownst to him, when he turned away from examining Sasuke's future fangirls and introduced himself, he failed to notice that a good portion of feminine eyes locked onto him as well. Time skip, 6 months, like Shikamaru would say, this is starting to get troublesome. I've had enough of these basic academic classes. I'm ready for the actual ninja classes, thought Naruto. The past 6 months had in fact been mostly academic classes with a few physical conditioning and introductory weapon and taijutsu classes. Unfortunately for Naruto, the taijutsu classes didn't help him all that much as the academy forms no longer applied to him since he had his mother teaching him the Uzumaki taijutsu forms. Naruto looked around the class and noticed the expressions on the faces of most of his friends. Kiba, Sasuke, Ino, and Chuji all looked extremely bored. Shikamaru was obviously napping. Shino, well, no one really knew. The only people paying attention out of the 10 of them, including Yakumo, were Hinata, Sakura, and Yakumo, but Naruto suspected that those were only masks and they were secretly bored as well. Most of the clans in Konoha already taught their children reading, writing, and math before the academy, and these first 2 years were irrelevant to them. Not only was Naruto from the future, and he already knew the stuff, but his mom had taught him what they were learning now. Naruto got that look on his face, the one the village would soon come to fear. Looks like it's time for Naruto, prank genius of Konoha, to make a comeback. Oh, this is going to be so good. The next day, Naruto showed up a little early to rig the ceiling. At this point in time, only Sasuke and Kiba had shown up to the academy and were wondering what he was up to. Naruto briefly explained to them what he was doing and both gave him a smirk, and this is going to be good look. Now Naruto could understand, as the two of them had pulled a series of pranks back in the old timeline together. However, Sasuke? He couldn't remember the Uchiha boy ever being into his pranks before, but he wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to turn Sasuke into one of his accomplices. About 30 minutes later, Ebisu walked in to begin the class. He started off as normal and everything was going fine, which was the problem. Naruto had rigged everything so that when the top drawer of the teacher's desk was opened, the prank would activate. But Ebisu hadn't even touched any drawer on the teacher's desk. Sensei? Kiba raised his hand, getting tired of waiting as well. I'm sorry to bother you, but I don't suppose you have a few extra pieces of paper. My dog ate my notebook last night. This earned a whine from the puppy on his head. Certainly, Kiba. Just make sure to keep these away from Akamaru, said Ebisu as he reached for the top drawer where the papers and supplies were kept. Naruto, Kiba, and Sasuke waited in suspense as Ebisu's hand slowly crept closer. Boom! An explosion of powder and confetti was heard from the front of the room as Naruto's prank went off. When the dust cleared, there stood Ebisu, completely stunned and looking more clown-like. The class burst out in laughter and Sasuke managed to snap a picture. Naruto would be holding onto these as kind of a scrapbook, and there would be many more to come. Alright. Who was the little punk that did this? Demanded Ebisu. Oh, come on, Ebisu-sensei, quit clowning around. Why would any of us do this? Joked Naruto, trying to play innocent, while at the same time giving his teacher the I did it look. Sadly, Ebisu didn't get it. Either it was that Naruto had not built up his reputation as a prankster yet, or it was the fact that he was the Hokage's son and no one suspected the Hokage's son of being a mischievous little devil. Damn clueless closet perv. Oh well, that just means I'll be able to get away with plenty of more pranks on him in the future, thought Naruto. After class for the day, Naruto returned home. He still couldn't get used to the feeling that there was usually someone waiting for him after the academy. There were some days where he was left on his own or Kakashi Nizan had to get him, but those were the days that both Minato and Kushina were stuck with their own work. Still, Naruto couldn't quite get used to it, actually having parents there for him. It was funny just how different his life had been up until this point. So how was your day, Naruto? Minato asked. It was good. Usual boring lectures, replied Naruto. That's not what I heard, said Minato, shooting his son an annoying look. From what I saw, your class seems to have some sort of prankster. Shit, how did he find out when the closet perv was completely clueless? Thought Naruto. There you are. How's my little boy today? Said a way too happy Kushina. Honey, you do know we shouldn't be encouraging him, replied Minato. I know, dear, but I can't help it. My son just pulled his first ever prank. Cheered Kushina. After all, someone's got to take up my mantle as Konoha's prank master. Naruto looked up at his mom, very confused. Wait, what? Now come on, Naruto, let mommy tell you some of her secrets. With that, Kushina grabbed Naruto and whisked him away into another room in the house. Minato was left in the kitchen with his sweat dropping. I'd better make sure she doesn't overdo it, said Minato before following Kushina. Naruto found himself running away from the academy, being chased by a soaked Ebisu. It had taken 2 weeks' worth of pranks for Naruto to get the fact that he was the one pulling them through his sensei's perverted skull. So far, Naruto had been successful in evading his sensei. One perverted chunin won't be able to catch me. Now let's see, what was my record from the previous timeline? Oh yeah? The time I painted the monument I had 6 ANBU, 3 Jonin, and most of the school teachers chasing me, thought Naruto. He was too busy in thought to see the yellow flash that appeared in front of him as he crashed into his father's legs. Ah, Hokage-sama. Thank you, said Ebisu, finally catching up to Naruto. Ebisu, I'll deal with Naruto later. Why don't you take him back to class now, said Minato. Hi, Hokage-sama, said Ebisu as he grabbed Naruto by his shirt collar. Alright, you little brat, let's go. When class was let out a few hours later, there was Minato, waiting for Naruto outside the academy. Naruto gulped. This was the one thing he missed about being an orphan, was that there would be no parents to be scolded by. Let's go get some ramen, Naruto, said Minato, giving his son a smile. Naruto was even more worried now. At Ichiraku, Minato and Naruto had just finished their first bowls. So Naruto, what did you do this time? Asked Minato. It was nothing harmful, just a bucket of water when Ebisu-sensei went to open the closet door, said Naruto. Minato sighed. That makes what? The 15th prank you've pulled since your mother had that little exchanging notes talk with you? Asked Minato. 16th. You missed the look on Ebisu-sensei's face when I came in as you and told him that the ANBU were looking for him. It makes me wonder if he really did do something, said Naruto. You impersonated me? Said a slightly irritated Minato. At least that explains why Ebisu was running from any NBU, especially when I had Kakashi pick Naruto up from the academy the other day. Yeah, funny, huh? Said Naruto. Naruto, you've got to stop, said Minato. But what else am I supposed to do? Asked Naruto. I don't know, pay attention in class? Responded Minato. But I'm already top in the class, acing all the tests so far. Kazan's already taught me more than I need to know for the academics, said Naruto. Well, there's something I wasn't expecting to say anytime soon, Minato sighed. Just promise me you'll tone down a lot on the pranks, okay? And make sure you apologize to your teacher tomorrow. I understand. I'm sorry, Dad, said Naruto. Good. Now how about another bowl of ramen? Asked Minato. The next morning, Naruto offered his apology to Ebisu, who was a little skeptical at first, but accepted the apology. Needless to say, most of the class was a little disappointed that Naruto wouldn't be pulling the pranks, but everyone had to agree that perhaps he did go a little overboard. Don't worry. I'm not done for yet. I'll just give it some time to cool down and then Naruto, prank master of Konoha, will return, thought Naruto as he sat down next to Sasuke. You're not done yet, are you? Sasuke whispered to his friend. Nope. I just need to take a break and let things cool down a bit. Besides, it'll give me time to plan for the big stuff, responded Naruto, making sure no one else heard. Now class, next week, we will begin our Konoha history unit. As a result, I want each of you to prepare a small report that you'll present at the beginning of next week. Now you are to write this report on a well-known shinobi of Konoha. They can either be living or deceased, but they have to be distinguishable, explained Ebisu. Awesome. This will be easy, declared Naruto. And no, Naruto, you may not use your dad as the subject of the report. In fact, no one here may use a person that is in their family, said Ebisu as Naruto's head dropped. Sasuke turned to Naruto. Hey, you think I could use your dad for the report? Whispered Sasuke. Sure, knock yourself out, replied a depressed Naruto. Who should I write my report on? I can't use my dad. I could use Gigi, but I think I overheard a few people talking about using him. I could also do Erosenin or Bachan, but I think I overheard Sakura or Ino talking about Bachan, and besides, there's enough pervertedness in the class without giving a report on Erosenin, thought Naruto, as he was walking home. Suddenly, his attention was drawn away from his thoughts as he noticed 3 rather large boys dragging a small girl away. That can't be Kinnit? Naruto began to tail the 3 boys and what appeared to be their captive. Who do you think you are, running into me like that? Shouted one of the boys. I'm sorry. It was an accident, replied the small girl who had been thrown to the ground. Hey boss, look. She has those eyes, said one of the other boys. Yeah, you're right. She must be that Niji's cousin, said the third boy. A Hyuga, huh? So think you're above us that you can go around hitting us all the time? Scolded the first boy. Think you are above us just because of your name? And no, I'm not like that, ah. Hinata said as the main boy started to shove her head into the ground. Now say you're sorry, demanded the first boy. I'm sorry, responded Hinata. I didn't hear you. Say it again and say it louder, shouted the boy. She said she was sorry. Now let her go, shouted Naruto, arriving on the scene. Well, if it isn't the great son of the Hokage. Think you can just tell me what to do just because your dad's the Hokage? Mocked the boy. No, but I won't let you torment an innocent girl when it was just an accident, and she already apologized before you dragged her, responded Naruto. Peach FD. Your dad may be Hokage, but he's not here to save you now and you're just a newbie, whereas I'll be graduating from the academy at the end of the year. Take this. The boy lashed a punch out at Naruto, who merely ducked underneath the blow and took out the boy's legs with a sweeping kick. The boy landed flat on his back with Naruto standing over him. The second boy, wanting to take revenge for his friend, tried to knock Naruto upside the back of his head, but Naruto simply bent forward and threw his foot back into the boy's gut, sending him back as well. All 3 boys scrambled back away from Naruto. Now are you 3 going to apologize for being big jerks? Said Naruto. We're sorry, said the first boy as the 3 of them hightailed it out of there. Naruto turned to Hinata, who was still on the ground, and offered her a hand. Are you okay? I'm sorry those 3 had to be like that, said Naruto. And no, it's not why your fault, stuttered Hinata. Just. Hey, don't do that, said Naruto. DW what? Replied Hinata. Doubt yourself. You're not weak and you can be strong if you just believe in yourself. Be who you want to be, not what others are trying to make you out as, replied Naruto. Hinata looked up at her savior, and the first thing she noticed was his eyes. She had seen those eyes before, a few years ago on the night when she was nearly kidnapped. At first glance, they looked cheerful and happy, thankful that she was okay, but a closer examination revealed there to be a sadness and pain underneath the mask, the type that was inflicted through some sort of tragic event and the type that would never go away, no matter how much it was nursed, the type of pain that was engraved into the soul itself. Hinata-sama! Shouted a voice running towards her and Naruto. Their attention was diverted to see another Hyuga running towards her. Hinata-sama, what happened? You're a mess. Naruto explained the whole situation to the Hyuga. Thank you, Namikaze-san. If you'll excuse me, I should get Hinata home. By the way, my name's Ko. No worries, Ko. I was happy to help, replied Naruto as Ko took Hinata away. Well, that was better than last time. At least I didn't get beat up as well and Code didn't scold Hinata for being near me. Hinata turned around to get one last glimpse at her savior before he disappeared from view. You always seem so happy, Naruto. What happened to you? What caused you that pain? And so that concludes my report on Hitaki Tsukumo, the white fang of Konoha. He was a true hero who understood that the value of a comrade's and friend's life was much greater than that of a mission. It's just a shame the village didn't recognize his sacrifice until it was too late, said Naruto, as he finished giving his report on a renowned shinobi of Konoha. A few tears came to Kakashi's eyes as he was hidden in the back of the room observing what Naruto had said about his father. Last week, Naruto had come to him and asked him for some information on his father, Hitaki Tsukumo, for a report that he was to give in school to start off the Konoha history course. The rest of the class gave their reports, with some of the more notable reports being Sasuke, who covered Namake's Minato, Sakura, who had chosen to do her report on Tsunade of the Sannin, and some other kid who did Erosenin and also referred to him as a great writer of romance novels. Ebisu completely agreed with the kid and Naruto foresaw a future super pervert in his class. Later that night, Naruto was sitting in his room reflecting. One of the reports in the class that really got his attention was from Ino, who had done hers on the Shodaime Hokage, Senju Harashima. She mentioned the battle between him and Uchiha Madara, which most kids just took as something of the past. However, for Naruto, that instantly focused his mind on something else, something that might be coming up and one thing he was hoping to change. Okay, I've got a little more than a year and a half until the Uchiha incident is supposed to happen. I should probably start looking into a few things to see if it is going to happen this time around or not. My shadow clone should be able to handle the task while I'm off at school, Dad's at work, and Mom's away on missions. Dad's gotta have some files in his study that could prove useful, thought Naruto. One morning as Naruto arrived in class, he looked over to his best friend and it was obvious Sasuke was depressed for some reason. Something was up with the Uchiha, but Naruto wasn't really sure just yet. He was sure the massacre had not even happened yet as he still had about a year to go until that, so it had to be something else. Hey Sasuke, is everything alright? Asked Naruto, deciding just to dive right in. HN was all Sasuke responded with. Oh come on, Mr. Sourpuss. If nothing's wrong, then quit pouting. Naruto knew that in the previous timeline, that would have earned him a strong punch to the face. However, already being friends, Sasuke just shot the blonde an annoyed look. Just be quick, class is starting, said Sasuke. For Naruto, this normally meant nap time, and seeing as today's lecture was on the Yondaime Hokage, it seemed like a perfect time to catch up on the sleep Naruto missed the previous night from trying to refine his chakra control. Last night, he managed to get the tree/wall walking technique while his parents were asleep and weren't looking. Naruto managed to get about 20 minutes through his nap before an eraser upside the head knocked him awake. Looking around, he also saw Shikamaru rubbing an eraser mark on his forehead. The two boys looked at each other and the conversation that could be summed up by their looks went something along the lines of troublesome, isn't it? At lunch, Naruto managed to catch up with Sasuke in the courtyard of the academy. Both boys pulled out their bento boxes that their mothers had given them for lunch. It was a shame that Naruto couldn't have ramen for lunch anymore. Even though both he and his mom would be considered ramen addicts, Kushina still insisted upon Naruto getting the proper nutrition, and as such, the variations of food that he ate compared to the previous timeline increased drastically. Come on, something's up, said Naruto to Sasuke. It's nothing really. Just my dad, said Sasuke. Naruto put a little more pressure on him, trying to get a little more out of the Uchiha. Finally, Sasuke gave in. You know how I'm always annoyed by being compared to my brother? Naruto nodded. Well, this past week, Father's been teaching me one of our clan's jutsu, the Katan, Goryoka no Jutsu, Great Fireball Jutsu, and? How's it going? Asked Naruto. HN. I can't get it. I don't know why, and every time, he just looks at me disappointed, said Sasuke, clutching his fist. Naruto never had any idea Sasuke's childhood was really like that. He had believed that Sasuke's life and his relationship with his family was perfect, that is until Itachi killed the clan, but he was never expecting Sasuke to be seen as a disappointment by someone. You said fire style, right? Asked Naruto. Yeah, but you don't have anything that can help. If I'm correct, your dad's a wind and lightning style user, said Sasuke. And I think your mom is an earth style user. Well, my mom can use fire style and water style as well, but that's not who I was thinking about, said Naruto. Jiraiyaji is in town today, and he's really good with the fire. I'm sure he'll be able to help, and even better, you won't have to worry about the pressure of your father being there. Sasuke liked this idea. It would be good to train for once without his father breathing down the back of his neck. When the day came to an end, Jiraiya was there to pick up his godson as Minato was busy with Hokage work and Kushina was out of the village on a mission. This was perfect for Naruto as he could ask Jiraiya right away to see if Sasuke could train with him today. So how was your day today, Gaki? Asked Jiraiya. When are you going to stop calling me that? Responded Naruto. I'll stop calling you a Gaki when you stop being a Gaki, laughed Jiraiya. Anyways, I was wondering if Sasuke could come home with us and train. He's working really hard on this fire jutsu and I told him you might know some tricks to help him. After all, you are the great Sannin Jiraiya, aren't you? Haha. That I am, exclaimed Jiraiya. I'm sure I can help your friend out a little. Sasuke was talking to his father when they were approached by Naruto and Jiraiya. Uchiha-san, Naruto here expressed interest in wanting Sasuke to come train with the two of us today. If that's alright with you, Jiraiya asked Uchiha Fugaku. Training with one of the Sannin, and perhaps the Hokage as well, Fugaku thought. Very well. Sasuke, I expect you to take any lessons Jiraiya-sama here gives you seriously. Sasuke nodded and went with Naruto and the white-haired toad Sannin. In the backyard of the Namake's estate, at the family's personal training ground, Sasuke had finished explaining everything he had done so far regarding the fire jutsu that his dad was having him work on. Jiraiya spent a few moments in thought. Alright kid, I want you to do it right now, but take your time. It sounds like you're rushing through everything and that can happen when you're under a lot of pressure, explained Jiraiya. Naruto nodded slightly, knowing exactly what Jiraiya was referring to from the previous timeline. You won't be using this jutsu in any sort of combat situation for a few years yet, so there's no shame in going slow at first. Take time to build up your chakra and superheat it first. Then when it feels like your lungs are about to explode, release it all. Why couldn't Ero Sennin be like this when he was teaching me the Rasengan? Thought Naruto. Sasuke nodded to Jiraiya and did as told, taking his time to gather the chakra. For him, it was nice working on this jutsu while not having his father's undivided attention. There was no pressure being put on him here. He actually just stood there for a few minutes, doing nothing, something he would have been scolded for by his father. And then, Katan, Goryoka no Jutsu! Sasuke shouted. As he unleashed all the fire chakra in him, a giant fireball erupted from him. He had done it, a fire jutsu at the age of 7, this kid's pretty good, thought Jiraiya. Good, now all we need to do is find a jutsu for Naruto here. Naruto, how are you doing that? Asked Sasuke as he turned around to look back at his friend and the toad Sannin. Naruto was hanging upside down on a tree branch by the base of his feet. Yes, Naruto, how did you learn that? Asked Jiraiya. Naruto struggled for an answer before Jiraiya said something. You've been sneaking into your dad's study, haven't you? Yep, said Naruto, thankful that Jiraiya had come up with something for him. Hey Naruto, do you think you can show me how to do that? Asked Sasuke. Yeah, why don't you? I've got some work that needs to be done, so you can help Sasuke with the wall walking until he needs to go home, said Jiraiya as he began to walk away and pull a notebook out of his pocket. You're just going to peep again, aren't you? Asked Naruto. Jiraiya stiffened. I don't peep. I conduct necessary research that I need for my books, defended Jiraiya. What do you mean by peep and research? Asked Sasuke to Naruto. He may be a Sannin and a great ninja, but he's really just a big pervert, said Naruto. A pervert, you, replied Sasuke. Being a kid, Sasuke was still considered fairly innocent. Yeah, I know. In fact, I've just thought of a nickname for him, Ero Sennin, said Naruto. Sasuke laughed as Jiraiya face planted into the ground at his godson's declaration. There was another laugh coming from the house as Kushina was having trouble breathing. Cousin! You're home early! Shouted Naruto, running off towards his mother. Jiraiya used this time to slip away unnoticed before Naruto could think of anything else. Yep, and you'll be happy to know that we're going to Ichiraka tonight as I don't feel like cooking after that mission, said Kushina. Naruto cheered at this. Now, what's this about you walking up and down trees? Naruto began sweating a little. I kinda found a scroll on basic chakra control in Dad's study, said Naruto. Kushina sighed. Alright, I'll have to tell your father when he gets home. There's some stuff in there that's too dangerous for you. Just don't get anything you can't handle, okay? Don't worry, Mom, I won't, said Naruto. I guess it's time to get my Kage Bunshin no Jutsu back for everyday use, thought Naruto as he began thinking. Good. Now if you want, you can show Sasuke how to do that. This past mission was really tiring and Mommy needs to take a nap. I'll come and get you when it's time to get dinner, said Kushina as she left the two boys to themselves. So what was that technique called that you were using? Asked Sasuke. Oh, that? It's a basic chakra control exercise that they teach you after the academy called the wall walking exercise, said Naruto. I mean, it's not much compared to that jutsu you just did, but from everything I've heard, it's very useful. Naruto explained the basics of the technique to his friend and Sasuke spent the next hour or so trying to get the amount of chakra from his feet just right. By the time Sasuke was able to make it a few steps up a tree, his chakra reserves were running very low from the fireball earlier in the day, and they were forced to call it a day for training. With about an hour before Kushina would wake up and they would get ramen, Naruto decided to run and grab some ice cream as the two just hung out, or the rest of the afternoon. It was late, and Naruto had gone to bed, or did he? A small blonde figure crept towards the door of his room as he made his way for his intended target. Minato had not arrived home, so Kushina had yet to tell him about Naruto's sneaking into his office. This was perfect for Naruto. He knew his dad well enough to know that as soon as Kushina told him that Naruto had been sneaking into his study, and this worked perfectly into Naruto's plan. With Sasuke now having his fireball jutsu, Naruto had figured that it was time to get his shadow clones back. Now, he already knew the jutsu, but he didn't have an explanation on how he could use the jutsu. Tonight would solve that problem. In order for everything to work, he would need two things to happen. First, he would have to get the forbidden scroll from his dad's study. The same scroll that the entire village freaked out over when he stole the night of the Mizuki incident in the previous timeline. However, the good thing about this was that there was no potential in releasing the QB this time around, as he didn't have the giant fur ball sealed inside him. The second thing was that he had to get caught reading, at the very least, the scroll. Naruto snuck along the hall, careful not to notify anyone. As he opened the door to the study, there it was, the cabinet that contained the forbidden scroll. "Hello, my old friend, it's been a while, hasn't it?" said Naruto as he removed the scroll from the cabinet. On his way back to his room, he heard the laughter of his dad from downstairs, meaning that he had to act fast. "Now let's see here. Hey, seeing as I actually know the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, perhaps I could get another out of here," thought Naruto as he opened the scroll. As it was last time, the Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was the first jutsu on the scroll. "Right, already know that one, so let's see what else I've got to work with," said Naruto as he unfurled the scroll even further. The next jutsu was one that he was not hoping to ever see again, the Edo Tensei. "Oh hell no! That jutsu's just horrible." Naruto quickly brushed that jutsu aside and began looking through the scroll for another one that he thought that he might be able to use. After about 4 jutsu he came to one. Okay. Yeah, this should work. I just need some way to test it out. "Wait," declared Naruto as a light bulb went off in his head. "This should work. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Mina-kun!" shouted Kushina as she jumped into Minato's arms, giving him a long kiss. Minato had been having a stressful day, and the sight of his wife throwing herself at him was more than enough to chase away some of the stress. However, that usually meant something else. "Okay, Kushi-chan, what's up?" asked Minato. "What did you mean? I can't just give my husband a kiss after a long, hard day as Hokage?" asked Kushina, pushing her finger across Minato's chest. "It's not that. In fact, I quite enjoyed that. But I know you better than that to know something's up," said Minato. Kushina sighed. "It's not much yet, but Naruto brought Sasuke to train with Jiraiya, or as he called him, Erosen," and Minato was on the ground laughing at the nickname his son had given his sensei, the same reaction Kushina had when she first heard it. A few minutes passed and Kushina was able to help Minato regain his composure. "Anyways, when I went out to check on them, Naruto was hanging upside down in a tree." "Huh? Why is that a problem?" "He's a kid. It's normal for them to go climb trees," replied Minato. "I know that, but he was using chakra," said Kushina. Minato's eyes widened as he realized his son was already working on Genin level chakra control exercises. "And he said he got it from a basic chakra control book in your study." "I see," said Minato as he and Kushina made their way up towards the study. "Well, at least it was only an elementary chakra control book, and not something like the Forbidden Scroll. Still, I'll talk with him in the morning about taking stuff from the stud without asking." Minato opened the door to the study as he just wanted to make sure everything was still in its place. However, everything was not in its place. The Forbidden Scroll. "It's gone!" Minato began freaking out. Kushina also began to panic as well. That scroll contained the formula to remove the seal that contained the QB, and the last thing she wanted was someone releasing the QB through Konoha. "Shit! I've got to get the ANBU on finding it right away," said Minato. Suddenly, Kushina's mind started to think, which really was a surprise seeing as she was as impulsive as Naruto. "Minato, don't you have a Horatian seal on the scroll?" asked Kushina. "Oh yeah, that could work," said Minato, in disbelief that he would actually forget about that. However, he didn't need the Horatian to find the scroll. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The two of them heard that come from the direction of Naruto's room. "Oh no, he didn't," said Kushina. "Great. Now let's get started on this next jutsu," declared Naruto to his 2 clones. "Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Naruto stiffened at the calling out of his entire name. That was never a good thing. He slowly turned around as a smile plastered his face. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Dad," he said. Yep, he was in trouble now. Kushina's hair had somehow risen to resemble 9 tails. This was the telltale sign that Naruto knew he was in trouble. "Naruto, do you know what you've got there?" asked Minato. "I'm a cool jutsu scroll," said Naruto innocently. Minato sighed. "Naruto, which jutsus in that scroll did you look at exactly?" asked Minato. "Just this first one, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," said Naruto. That one was obvious as there were 3 Narutos in the room. However, Minato let out a sigh of relief that Naruto hadn't seen any of the other jutsu in the scroll. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was forbidden only because of its chakra cost, but there were other jutsu in that scroll that were forbidden for other, darker reasons. "Wait, which one of you is the real one?" asked Minato. The 2 clones just smiled and disappeared, leaving a grinning, yet sweating, Naruto. "Naruto, your mother told them about your little adventure into my study to get a book on chakra control, and while that was fine, you should have asked first. And now I come home to find that scroll missing, only to find that you've taken it." "Why?" "Well, I found it in a cabinet, and I thought it would be better than climbing the bookshelf," said Naruto. "What's so bad about this scroll in particular?" "Naruto, that scroll contains a variety of forbidden jutsu," said Minato. "Cool. So that means there are some powerful jutsu in here?" exclaimed Naruto. "No. The jutsu in there are forbidden for a reason. They're either harmful to the user, or they go against all laws of nature and are considered immoral, said Minato. Naruto gulped. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to, pleaded Naruto as he wrapped himself around his dad's legs. So long as the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was the only thing you got out of it, then it's okay. That jutsu was only forbidden because of its chakra cost if you use too many. Still, I'm going to pick you up after school tomorrow and we're going to have a talk about that jutsu in particular, said Minato. Now promise me no more sneaking into my study, okay? I'm sorry, Dad, and I promise, replied Naruto. However, on the inside, he was applauding his performance. He now had his shadow clones back for everyday use. As Kushina and Minato exited the room, they were practically jumping for joy. Their 7-year-old son had somehow managed to learn a B-rank jutsu. Perhaps their son was a genius like his father. The following day, Naruto exited the school, only to find his dad waiting for him. You ready for this, Naruto? Asked Minato. What exactly are we doing, Dad? Gulped Naruto. Figuring out to what extent you can use that jutsu, said Minato. Just wait here a moment. Hizashi. There you are, my old friend, said Minato, going over to greet Hizashi, who was here for Niji. Hogi-sama, what pleasure do I have to meet you today? Bowed Hizashi. Hizashi, you know what you can call me, Minato, said Minato. Sorry, Minato apologized Hizashi. Anyways, what can I do for my friend today? I just need to borrow your eyes real quick, said Minato. Naruto's already learned a jutsu, and I need to figure out just how big his chakra reserves are. Already? Outside the Academy 3? Asked Hizashi. Minato nodded and whispered the jutsu to his friend. Wow. So it appears as if fate has granted us with genius sons. Like father, like son, I guess. Still, Minato could see a hint of regret and disdain in Hizashi's eyes. They were directed at no one in particular, but Minato knew what his friend was so taken by. I was true, even in this timeline, Niji was still a genius and he still had a lot of potential. However, Hizashi knew that Niji was fated to the branch family of the Hyuga house, nothing more than a servant of the main branch which he had the potential to surpass. Hizashi sealed away his emotions for the moment. Byakugan, he said, activating his dojutsu and focusing it on Naruto. This is incredible. His chakra reserves are larger than most jonin in the village. Minato was surprised by this. He had always known that Naruto had large chakra reserves, probably as a result of being related to the Uzumakis, as they were renowned for their chakra and stamina. But still, jonin-level reserves at the age of 7 were something he was never expecting. Thank you, my friend, and it was nice seeing you, Niji, Minato said to the father and son before returning to his own son. Jonin-level reserves? But how? Thought Minato as his mind began contemplating a few things. Naruto noticed that his dad was in deep thought. "Two-san? Is everything okay?" asked Naruto. "Yeah. I just had to check with Hizashi about something," replied Minato, as he took his son's hand and flashed back home. Naruto and Minato found themselves in the backyard of the training ground. "I think you know why we're here. I'm guessing it's because of last night?" grinned Naruto. Minato sighed. "I still don't think you get it. You're lucky that the first book you took was just a basic book on chakra control, and I can overlook that. But the Forbidden Scroll is something completely different," said Minato. "That scroll contains some of the most dangerous jutsu this village had, and when I found that it was gone, I was almost ready to put the village on high alert." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you like that. I was just looking for some cool jutsu to match Sasuke," said Naruto. "I know. I heard from Jiraiya-sensei that he performed that fireball jutsu the other day. And I know how competitive the two of you can get, so I guess I'm not surprised that you went looking for a jutsu. But next time, ask. I can't have anyone sneaking into my personal library, taking some forbidden jutsu, let alone my own son," said Minato. Naruto looked down and Minato placed his hand on his son's head. "But that's not why we are here. I think you got enough scolding from your mother this morning. I do want to talk to you about that jutsu, but I'm not going to scold you," said Minato. "I'll be honest, if there's any jutsu you could have gotten out of the scroll, I'm happy it was that one." "Why is that?" asked Naruto. "Because if there is any jutsu in that scroll that you can use, it's that one. Most of the jutsu in that scroll were sealed away because they're immoral and go against the laws of nature. However, the reason the Kage Bunshin jutsu is in there is because of its high chakra cost. In all reality, it's only in that scroll to keep ninja away from it until they develop the necessary chakra reserves for it," explained Minato. "However, and I don't know why, you have extremely large reserves, even larger than most jonin in the village. Thank goodness. If there was anything I wanted to take back with me, it was the massive amount of chakra that I had," thought Naruto. "So does that mean I can actually use that technique?" "It does, but don't go overboard. I brought you here because I want to see how many clones you can make, under supervision," said Minato. "Alright, here I go. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu," Naruto shouted, making a few hundred shadow clones. Minato just stared in utter disbelief. "Wow, just wow," was all he could say. "I never am, just." All 300 Naruto clones got a laugh out of their dad's expression, causing them to dispel. "How was that, Dad?" Minato was still speechless as Naruto came over and poked him a little. Minato snapped out of his trance and looked down at his grinning son. "How did you?" I don't know. I just put as much chakra as I could into the jutsu, and that's what I got, said Naruto. Minato let out a held breath. Okay. For now, I'm going to have to forbid you from making that many clones, said Minato. What? But why? Complained Naruto. Because creating that many clones puts a severe drain on your chakra system, not to mention the mental fatigue when you dispel them all, said Minato. You did read about the second ability of shadow clones, didn't you? Naruto let out a slight nod. It said something about all the memories one clone gets going back to the original, I think. Correct. That's another reason why this jutsu is dangerous, because of the mental fatigue that comes from dispelling a massive amount of clones, said Minato. But simply put, if that clone learns anything, then you learn what the clone learned upon dispelling. Now listen, I don't want you making more than, let's say, 10 clones for the moment, and that's even pushing it. I know you can make many more, but the more clones you make, the stronger fatigue you experience. Okay, I can do that, said Naruto. While 10 wasn't as many as he hoped, at least he could use it in public. Hey Dad, I was thinking. Can you use shadow clones? Minato smiled and made a few clones of himself. I sure can. And I can make more than you. Why? Well, you know how you're always complaining about paperwork? Minato nodded. Why don't you have a shadow clone do the paperwork for you? Because Naruto, wait, what? Minato's mind blanked again. Dad? Are you okay? Asked Naruto. It took a few minutes for Minato's brain to regain itself. Out of all the times wishing that he could have someone else do the paperwork, the bane of being Hokage, he had never thought of doing that, and he was pretty sure no one else had. Minato pulled out a scroll from his coat and unsealed a large post with the inscription when realizing something completely obvious. Bang head here. Naruto spent the next few minutes watching his dad bang his own head against a solid wooden post. Dad? Now Naruto was really getting worried. It's nothing, just Minato broke down, hugging his son and crying tears of joy. Thank you, son. You've just made my job as Hokage a whole lot easier. You're seriously telling me no one has ever thought of that before? After all the complaining from Jiji and Bachan? Thought Naruto. The following day, Minato was sitting in his office, not stressing out for the first time in years. He was sitting back in his chair, completely relaxed, as he had 4 shadow clones working their way through the pile of paperwork on his desk. With the 4 clones, the paperwork went by much faster, and more time could be devoted to reading the paperwork. In particular, one of the clones caught a clause in one of the documents that the Civilian Council had snuck in to lower the graduating standards of the academy. They wanted there to only be 3 simple E-rank jutsu, the Bunshin, Henge, and Kawarmi, to be the only 3 jutsu that were required to pass the academy. Currently, a student needed those 3 and then 2 additional jutsu of their choosing, D-rank or better or clan techniques, in order to be able to pass the Nin/Genjutsu portion of the graduation exam. Minato was certain that had it not have been for the shadow clones, he would have skipped that part completely and allowed the academy standards to drop drastically. Minato, are you what's going on? Asked Hiruzen as he walked into his old office and observed Minato's clones doing all the work. He had originally stopped by to discuss some steps towards securing the Forbidden Scroll after Naruto so easily got his hands on it, only to see a completely relaxed, stress-free Minato and a rapidly shrinking pile of paperwork. Hiruzen, you'll never guess, but I found a way to combat the paperwork, said Minato with a big grin. You can't be serious, said the old Hokage as his jaw dropped to the floor. Minato tossed the Sandame the same scroll that he used the other day, and the ex-Hokage went to work bashing his head on the same post that Minato had used the other day. In the sewers beneath Konoha, Danzo-sama, I'm afraid to report, but those documents you slipped into the Hokage's paperwork specifically aimed at giving you and the council more power have failed to be passed. It appears as if the Hokage now actually reads the documents before signing them, said a masked Anbu with the kanji N, root, in his mask. That is most unfortunate, Danzo sighed. Ever since Minato had taken over as Hokage, it had been increasingly difficult for he and his Root organization to work. Minato had disbanded Root upon its discovery at the time of taking the mantle of Hokage, and Danzo, who was used to controlling much activity in Konoha through the shadows under Hiruzen's reign, was finding it increasingly more difficult to control Konoha. What are your orders, Danzo-sama? Asked the Root Anbu. Hold for now. I need think where we want to go from here, said Danzo. The Root nodded and disappeared. Things were so much easier when you were still in charge, Hiruzen. My power here is slipping, and I can no longer do what I once could. Minato was taking a happy afternoon stroll through his village. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and the bane of all Kages had been dealt with, all thanks to a little jutsu called the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. While he had left 3 clones to finish up with the day's paperwork, he was now able to take a walk through the village to personally check up on the status of various things. While the dispelling of clones and transfer of large quantities of information was mentally taxing at first, he was able to make it so the clones would dispel at regularly spaced intervals, creating a replacement clone as they did so. This kept the information flowing to Minato at a controlled and manageable pace. There were occasional times when there was something he desperately needed to know, like the outcomes of certain mission. If that was the case, then one clone would dispel immediately instead of the regular interval. Overall, it was proving to be a highly effective system to tackle what used to be the only thing that could defeat the Hokage. However, If there was one thing that really showed the merit of this system was that multiple people working on the paperwork actually gave him, or his clones, to actually read the paperwork. Before, Minato only read the mission reports, while shoving aside most of the administrative documents. It was a good thing that Minato began using this strategy when he did, because he was already finding attempts by the civilian council to have him hand over certain aspects of village power to them. One of the more disturbing ones was their attempts at lowering the academy standards. Another example was when they tried to obtain voting powers in some shinobi affairs. 2 days ago, he had a very harsh meeting with the civilian council, reminding them to keep their noses out of the shinobi affairs of the village. As it stood today, he actually had time to grab some ramen for a late lunch with Kushina, resulting in a happy Kushina. What made things even better was that Naruto was already at the ramen stands. This would be a wonderful family time, if only it wasn't for that Naruto was supposed to being in school right now. Hey Pops! How about another one, said Naruto, slamming down his second bowl onto the counter. Coming right up, called out Tucci. Ahem. Naruto cringed at the voice coming from behind him as he turned to see two angry-looking parents. Hi Mom, hi Dad. What are you guys doing here? Asked Naruto in an innocent fashion. I think the question is, what are you doing here? Asked Kushina. You should be in school. Don't worry, I've got that covered. I sent a shadow clone back, said Naruto. That still didn't help the situation. Naruto, that jutsu's not meant to be used to tackle menial tasks like school, scolded Minato. But you use it to do paperwork, retorted Naruto. But that's different, defended Minato. Paperwork's the devil reincarnated, and school's boring. I don't really see what the difference is, said Naruto. But unlike you, I could be doing much more important stuff instead of paperwork, said Minato. You mean like getting ramen? Replied Naruto. Minato and Kushina were at a loss for the moment. It was true. Ramen made Kushina happy, and a happy Kushina was the most important thing to Minato, and it typically resulted in some fun later on. Fine, you can have one more bowl. But after that you're going back to school, mister, said Kushina. And you'd better not skip class like this again. Naruto snuck back into class and covertly switched himself with his shadow clone. The only one who noticed this was Sasuke, as half the class was falling asleep from Ebisu's lecture. What was that? Asked Sasuke, shadow clone. You didn't think you're the only one to have learned a new jutsu recently, now did you? Asked Naruto, receiving a smirk from Sasuke. Okay class, that will conclude most of the curriculum regarding academics. We may be coming back to it later, but for now we will begin to shift our focus towards more practical subjects for becoming shinobi, announced Ebisu. Wait, already? Thought Naruto before raising his hand. Ebisu-sensei, I thought we weren't going to be starting the shinobi portion for another year. Or at least that's what I heard from Niji the other day. Yes, while that would normally be the case, Hokage-sama has recently become aware that the standards of the academy were dangerously close to falling to a subpar level. As such, he has suggested that some changes be to the curriculum. As such, you will begin to learn about the shinobi art starting, well, tomorrow, explained Ebisu. Alright Dad, shouted Naruto. No more boring lectures. What was that about MY lectures? Asked Ebisu as flames erupted in the background and Naruto shrunk to about the size of Ebisu's foot. Oh look, I think I saw Jiraiyaji, shouted Naruto, pointing out the window. Ebisu quickly dashed out the window with an Ika book in hand, looking for an autograph. The entire class sweat dropped, and Naruto just chuckled. That was a pretty common distraction that Naruto would use for class to finish a few minutes earlier. Unfortunately for Ebisu, he would just miss Jiraiya whenever that happened. The following day started off as normal. Naruto got up, ate breakfast, and was chased out of the house by a Kyuubi-resembling mother after he complained about having to go to school. Still, he was actually excited for today, as he would now begin to start the actual shinobi classes that were supposed to start next year, and even then they would be watered down. The main question was why? The simple answer was because Minato was the Hokage and not Sarutobi this time through. However, it appeared that the roots ran deeper than that. Minato was still young and strong while Gigi was getting up there in age. From what Naruto had figured out, the council had managed to wrestle a good bit of power from the aging Sandaime in the previous timeline, but that wasn't the case with his dad. In Naruto's old timeline, the civilians had gained a good bit of say in the curriculum of the academy, and they lowered the standards so that their children, civilian children, would have a better chance at becoming ninja. What this also did was make it so that none of them were prepared for the realities of being a ninja. With the exception of Lee, all of his friends were from shinobi families, and Lee was pretty much all but adopted by Gai-sensei. Sasuke, Hinata, Niji, Kiba, Shino, Ino, Yakumo, and Chuji were all from prominent clans. Tenten and Sakura had fathers who were once shinobi, and as for him, well, he was the son of the greatest shinobi in the village, the Hokage. Naruto arrived in class, took his seat next to Sasuke, as per usual, and waited for Ebisu. Man, I've really gotta start pulling pranks again. It's been a few months. But no more of those lame pranks. No, it's time to start on the big stuff, thought Naruto, getting that devious grin look on his face. Sasuke caught this and couldn't help but smile. He had to admit things were getting boring without Naruto to liven it up. So what are you thinking? Whispered Sasuke. Naruto couldn't help but let out an evil-sounding laugh. Give me a few days, then you'll see, responded Naruto. Okay class, take your seats, announced Ebisu-sensei. Now, as you all know, today we will begin the shinobi classes. Before I begin on those, I would like to introduce you the man who will be my assistant for the next few years, Yumino Irika. A 19-year-old Irika stepped through the door and into the classroom as he introduced himself to the class. Yes! Screamed Naruto in his head. I guess Irika-sensei was meant to teach. Perhaps it was his fate after all. Damn it! Stop sounding like Niji! Naruto mentally beat himself. Still, Naruto couldn't be happier. Even if they never became what they did in the previous timeline, Naruto was so glad to have Irika as a sensei again. Well class, now that introductions are in order, let's go over the basics of the shinobi arts, in other words, jutsu. Now, who can name the 3 different types of jutsu? Questioned Ebisu. Ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu, answered Sakura. Naruto looked over at his former teammate. The pinkette had a red bow that tied her bangs back. Yep, Ino had managed to bring the shy little Sakura out of her shell. Very good. Now, before I continue further, I just want to make clear that by the time you leave here, you will know at least 5 jutsu. 3 have been pre-selected by the academy as standard jutsu that every young ninja should know, and then there will be a minimum of 2 more that you will learn. Now, while this may sound like a lot, realize that most ninja know at least dozens or even hundreds of jutsu. In fact, I believe there is a ninja in this village who knows 1000 jutsu. And don't forget, if you ever find yourself struggling to learn a jutsu, we'll be here to give you all the help you need, explained Ebisu. Ebisu-sensei, what exactly are these jutsu we need to learn? Asked one student. Yes, well, is there anyone who can name the 3 jutsu that all of you will be learning? Asked Ebisu. I believe they are the Bunshin no Jutsu, Clone Jutsu, Henj no Jutsu, Transformation Jutsu, and Kawarmi no Jutsu, Replacement/Substitution Jutsu, said Sakura. Correct again, said Ebisu. Now don't panic if you can't answer this question, but is there anyone here who can perform one of these 3? This time, Sakura's hand did not go up. However, Naruto and Sasuke's did. Yes, Sasuke and Naruto. Why don't the 2 of you come up here and show us? Asked Ebisu. The 2 came to the front of the class. Now, which jutsus do the 2 of you know? Just the Henj no Jutsu, replied Sasuke. Still, it's impressive that the 2 of you know a jutsu at your age. Who knows, we could have the next Itachi in this class, said Ebisu. Naruto caught the twitch in Sasuke's eye. While he still loved and admired Itachi, Sasuke hated being compared to his older brother. Now, could the 2 of you please perform the jutsu? Perhaps transform into your favorite instructor? Henj! Shouted both Naruto and Sasuke as they transformed into Ebisu, for Sasuke, and Irika, for Naruto. Now class, the Henj is a basic genjutsu where you disguise yourself as someone else, explained Ebisu as he went into how you were just covered in a chakra shroud that gave you the appearance of what you transformed into. This is a genjutsu? I thought you said it was ninjutsu and that we actually transformed into them? Asked Sasuke to Naruto. Yeah, I thought so too, replied Naruto. He could have sworn that the transformations he always did were real, not a genjutsu. I'm sorry boys, but it's just said Ebisu as he tried to slide his hand through the illusions, only to be stopped by a solid body. But TT, that's impossible, said Ebisu. Naruto was pretty sure that Ebisu's brain broke as he was frozen in spot. Irika-sensei? Asked a confused Naruto. You both know that's a true hench, which is a physical transformation, and what you just performed is a Jonin-level technique. Asked Irika. It is? Wow, we're awesome! Shouted Naruto. It was at that time that he got his first taste of what would soon haunt him throughout the academy. The female population was screaming either Sasuke, you're amazing, or you're so cool, Naruto. Yes, that's right, the fangirls were beginning to emerge. Naruto and Sasuke both grinned, completely oblivious to what was going on. While Ebisu's brain rebooted, Irika demonstrated the other 2 jutsu of the Academy 3. Irika-sensei called out Ino. You said that there were then 2 other jutsu that we had to learn? Which ones are these? Glad you asked that, Ino, is it? Asked Irika. Ino nodded. Sorry, this is my first day and it'll take me a day or 2 to get all of your names. Anyways, the remaining 2 jutsu are completely up to you to decide. If you belong to a clan, there is a good chance they could be clan jutsu, and there is also a large selection of simple jutsu in the Konoha library. Most ninja tend to specialize in certain types of jutsu, and we use these 2 jutsu to see what kind of ninja you'll become. Don't worry, you won't be graded on which 2 you select, just pick something that interests you. Now I don't suppose there are any of you who know any other jutsu besides the Academy 3? Once again, Naruto and Sasuke raised their hands, along with no one else. There was already talk going between the girls on what jutsu they knew and whose was cooler. Would the 2 of you mind demonstrating? Asked Irika. Can we go outside? Asked Sasuke. Irika looked at the raven-haired student, wondering what jutsu would require them to go outside. Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Great Fireball Jutsu, shouted Sasuke as he shot a large fireball at one of the training posts outside the academy, burning it to ashes. Sasuke, you're the best! Shouted about half of the female students. Wow, a 7-year-old being able to use a fire jutsu, said Irika in amazement. It was a good thing Ebisu was still inside or his brain might have crashed yet again. Anyways, very impressive, Sasuke. Naruto, your turn. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu, shouted Naruto as half a dozen Narutos popped into existence. A few of the girls were busy contemplating the possibilities of more than one Naruto. Iruka-sensei, what's the big deal? All he did was do a clone jutsu, said a boy in the class, who Naruto recognized as Hibachi from the previous timeline, trying to discredit Naruto. If he remembered correctly, Hibachi was one of the kids who never liked Naruto and sent him off into the back hills to find a corpse, only to come face to face with a group of Taki ninja. Shadow clones? He's only 7, how? Thought Iruka. Where did you get that jutsu from, Naruto? The Forbidden Scroll, said Naruto with a big grin plastered on his face, saying it as if it wasn't a big deal. Just never mind, said Iruka. Great, not only can they use a Jonin level transformation, but one can use elemental chakra manipulation and the other can use a kinjutsu like it's nothing. So sensei, what's up? I mean, Naruto just used a normal clone jutsu, didn't he? Asked the same boy again. No, that's not a normal Bunshin no jutsu, said Iruka. The normal Bunshin only creates corporeal copies, or images. What Naruto used was the Kage Bunshin no jutsu. This jutsu actually creates actual physical clones that can do anything the original can. But it requires a lot of chakra to use. Well, I have always had larger chakra reserves than normal, said Naruto with a big grin. I'm not even going to ask, said Iruka. Anyways, looks like I'll be taking over until Ebisu-sensei is mentally fit to resume teaching again. Iruka took the class back inside and went over one of the basic lectures regarding chakra. As Naruto and Sasuke left the class, they had this feeling almost like they were being followed. They didn't get much further than the gates of the academy before they turned around to see a mob of the greatest evil on the planet, yes, fangirls. Oh great, now Sasuke's got fangirls to worry about, thought Naruto, completely oblivious, that is until, oh Naruto-kun, we just want to show you how amazing you are, called out one of the girls. Sasuke-kun, I can't believe how hot you were today, said another girl. Crap, both Naruto and Sasuke thought simultaneously. Why are they coming after me? All the girls used to hate me, oh right, Hokage's son and not the QB brat, realized Naruto. Sasuke? Just run, said Sasuke. Itachi had warned him about the horrors of fangirls. It apparently was another thing that ran in the family for the Uchiha, the tall, dark, and handsome look that drove the girls wild. And for Naruto, no one could resist the glowing blonde hair, the cerulean eyes, or the fact that he looked like an exact clone of Konoha's greatest hero. Naruto and Sasuke began taking off, away from the mob, only for Naruto to get caught by the hood of his sweatshirt. Gag! He shouted. They had him almost. Sasuke grabbed a shuriken and used it to cut off the hood of Naruto's shirt. Hey! That was my favorite shirt. Less complaining about clothes, more running, shouted Sasuke as the two took off at speeds that would make even the Yellow Flash jealous, with the ravenous mob of fangirls right behind them. And Naruto-kun thought a certain blue-haired Hyuga from a distance. What was it about Naruto that captured her attention? Sure, he was a joke-loving, funny kid, who was loved by just about everyone for being the son of Konoha's greatest hero, but there was something more to him. Something more, deep down, that he tried to hide. The Naruto that everyone knew was nothing more than a mask. She could see the real Naruto through those bright cerulean blue eyes of his, and that Naruto knew the pain and suffering that came with being alone, with losing someone close to you. The same pain she experienced a few years ago when her mother passed away after having complications from delivering Hanabi. As Naruto and Sasuke were running from their very first mob of fangirls, the two ducked into an alleyway where they were able to take to the roof thanks to the chakra climbing technique that Naruto had taught Sasuke in. As the mob of fangirls looked up, they found themselves mad that Naruto and Sasuke were getting away from them. However, they turned on each other as they realized that they still had that hood that Sasuke had to cut off of Naruto's shirt in order to save the blonde. Naruto and Sasuke were then unable to slip away completely unnoticed, with the exception of a few laughing A and B watching the whole thing, as the girls fought over their prize. I think we're clear, said Sasuke. I can't believe it. I actually have fangirls? This is going to be a tough few years in the academy, sighed Naruto. Despite hating Sasuke for taking all the attention of the girls in the previous timeline, Naruto also saw how the Uchiha loathed them and how they constantly pestered him. While he constantly wished that even some of them would pay just the slightest attention to him, or at the very least, one of them, particularly a certain Pinkette, the last thing he wanted was a fan club. Both Naruto and Sasuke made their way towards the Uchiha compound, which was the closest structure to where the two of them had been chased to. Walking into the compound, the two of them received a few looks from Sasuke's family, in particular Itachi. What happened to the two of you? You look like you've ridden a wild boar through the middle of a monsoon, commented Mikoto, as she went to clean up the dirty and panting boys. Crazy ravenous monster, said Naruto, in between breaths. I see. I figured it was getting close to that time, said Itachi, picking up on the condition of the boys, in particular the missing hood on Naruto's jacket that looked like it was ripped off. Itachi was right. It was getting to that point where girls were slowly getting over the cootie phase and were beginning to have romantic fantasies about Prince Charming and ninja in shining armor and stuff like that. Naruto-kun, would you like to stay for a little? Offered Mikoto. Thank you, Mikoto-san, but I really have to get going, said Naruto as he bowed and left the compound. Before doing so, he whispered into Sasuke's ear. If you can, pay really close attention to the ANBU's uniform tomorrow morning. Naruto left snickering with a grin on his face. Minato was taking a walk through the village the following morning to check on how things were running. As he took a turn onto a rather empty street, he found himself surrounded by about 6 of his ANBU agents, cloaked. Is there a problem here? He asked in a serious tone. Well, sir, there is, but said a cat-masked ANBU with a bit of hesitation in his voice. Can we speak in private? Minato nodded and hurried back to his office with the ANBU arriving a few seconds later via Shunshin. Now, what is the situation that requires my attention? Asked Minato. You see, we think someone broke into the ANBU HQ last night, said one of the ANBU. What makes you say that? Anbu HQ is one of the most secure locations in the village. I don't see how anyone could have broken in without notice. How could you think someone broke in? Replied Minato. Did they take anything? No, sir. Not that we know of, replied the ANBU. Then why do you think someone broke in if nothing was out of place? Asked Minato. Should we just show him? An eagle-masked ANBU said. The other two nodded. The 3 ANBU removed their cloaks, revealing that their armor had been dyed a bright pink. After about 20 seconds, Minato could no longer hold back his laughter. Somehow, the uniform of every ANBU in the village had been dyed pink. On that day, the ANBU Black Ops were no more. They were now the ANBU Pink Ops. Later that evening, the entire Namake's family was enjoying the first dinner they were able to have together in weeks, due to a long mission that Kushina had been assigned to. So anything interesting happened while I was gone, Sochi? Sochi equals son, Kushina asked Naruto. Not much, I mean we got this cool new teacher in school and we are starting shinobi classes now. And Sasuke and I are the only ones who know jutsu, said an excited Naruto. I see, said Kushina, suspicious of something. And what happened to your jacket? Kushina pointed at Naruto's ripped hood. Oh well, Sasuke and I kind of got attacked, said Naruto as fast as he could. What? Shouted Kushina, flaring some QB chakra in her system. Kushi-chan, you know how girls his age are, said Minato, trying to defuse the situation. Huh? Oh, so is there a certain someone at school? Asked Kushina, instantly slipping into annoying mom mode. What? Mom, girls are icky, responded Naruto. He may have had the mind of a young adult, but Naruto was smart enough to know that boys his age weren't supposed to be interested in girls. In fact, it wasn't until his time with Erosenin that he truly became interested in girls. Sure, there was Sakura, but he never truly began to understand how girls worked until then, and even then he was still clueless. Don't worry, Kushi-chan, in a few years he'll be thinking otherwise, said Minato. Huh? But Dad, you don't understand. These girls were monsters who wanted to eat me and Sasuke, exaggerated Naruto. Minato and Kushina simply laughed at this. You know, that reminds me of poor Fugaku back in our days in the academy, reminisced Minato. It was not uncommon for some poor Uchiha to be singled out by a ravenous mob of fangirls during the academy days. However, it appeared as if Naruto was getting his share of attention as well. Quit talking like that, honey. You're making me feel old, replied Kushina with a very sadistic look on her face. What? Why you old? You still look no older than 20, said a fearful Minato. Naruto couldn't believe it, but he had found the one person who could make Dad fear for his life. Shikamaru was right, mothers were troublesome. Anyways, the strangest thing happened today, said Minato, trying to change the subject. Somehow, all the ANBU uniforms were dyed pink last night. No one knows of anyone who entered the ANBU HQ nor of anything that was taken or misplaced. Strange. It took everything he had for Naruto to resist laughing. About a minute later, Kushina was the first one to crack. Oh my god! I remember doing that. She laughed out. What? You dyed the ANBU uniforms pink, Mom? Said a surprised Naruto. I did when I was in the academy. It was so funny watching what was supposed to be the stealthiest unit in the village run around in pink, said Kushina as she regained her breathing. Naruto was stunned. He couldn't believe his mom was a prankster of that level. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of want to pull a super awesome prank with my mom one of these days. Later that night, Naruto was getting ready for bed when his mom came in his room. I'm impressed, Sochi. No one's been able to pull off something like that in years. But you've got a long way to go if you want to catch up to me, she said to Naruto. How did you know? Asked a dumbfounded Naruto. Please, I'm the only one who could pull off something like that. Or at least I was until someone inherited my genius, said Kushina, kissing Naruto goodnight on the forehead. She left the room and Naruto waited some time for the house to quiet down. After he was sure both Mom and Dad had gone to bed, he got out of his Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered, creating about a dozen shadow clones. You guys know what to do, but be careful. If you even think you're going to be discovered, dispel yourselves immediately. The clones nodded and left the house through the window in Naruto's room. Their destination, the Uchiha compound. If Naruto remembered correctly, it was only a month now until the date of the supposed Uchiha incident. So far, he had not managed to find a single piece of evidence hinting towards the attempted coup by the Uchiha in his father's study, or even office. So far, so good, but one can never be certain. He now only had one place remaining to check, and that was the Uchiha compound itself. He was confident in his abilities to get inside and find something. After all, if he could sneak into ANBU and dye their uniforms pink, he certainly could sneak into a clan compound. If he was certain there was nothing in the Uchiha compound, then there was a very good chance that the massacre would never happen and Sasuke wouldn't go off the deep end. Not to mention, Itachi wouldn't have to give up his life like he did in the previous timeline. Throughout the night, he received memories from his clones. At around 4 a.m., the final clone dispelled. That clone had somehow managed to make it in the secret room that he had found out about from Toby in the previous timeline. Nothing. There was nothing on an impending coup in that room, and if any room had something on a coup, it was that room. It was becoming increasingly clear to Naruto that by preventing the Kyuubi attack from the very beginning, he had prevented the seeds of hatred within the Uchiha clan from growing to the breaking point. There was really nothing more that he could do without exposing himself, which would most likely result in some quality time with Inoichi. So he did the one thing that he had left to do: hope. Hope that the massacre never came, and hope that Sasuke would still remain the Sasuke he was right now. Beneath Konoha's sewers, Danzo was sitting in some sort of private room, contemplating everything that had been happening. Over the past years since Minato took over the seat of Hokage, he found himself and his root organization unable to operate. He needed to find some way to regain the control he once had under the Sandame's reign, but since his underhanded tactics to slowly wrestle power had begun to fail, the only way he could think to regain control would be through some sort of coup d'etat. The only problem with this is even he didn't think his root forces could match the power of the Yellow Flash. It was becoming more and more accepted recently that Minato had surpassed his predecessor, the so-called god of shinobi, in strength and skill. Danzo was now standing in front of his entire root operation, ready to address them on their next step. As you are all aware, our operations have been under fire ever since the coming of the Yellow Flash. Our strength has begun to wane, and Konoha has entered a stage of false security. This will evidently lead to the downfall of the Yellow Flash and the destruction of Konoha. Konoha must be reminded of this, and where their strength truly lies, and we will be the ones to do so, announced Danzo. If Konoha is to survive, we must be the ones to show Konoha just how far it's fallen, and we must be the ones to pull it out of the darkness. However, because of the Hokage's actions, we do not possess the strength to do so at this point in time. Danzo-sama, what is it you suggest we do? Asked one of his agents. As much as I hate it, our only option is to leave Konoha for some time, announced Danzo, creating stirs within his organization. Silence. I know what some of you are thinking, and no, we are not abandoning Konoha. Once we are gone, we will wait for the opportune time to return. The time when the Yellow Flash dooms Konoha. That will be the time when we come to return Konoha to its former glory. You have all received your assignments that are necessary for our operation to begin. Now go. Danzo motioned to a squad of his agents. Terai, Shin, Dajimo, there is a specific operation that I require your abilities for. There is a certain power that Konoha possesses that we cannot afford leave in their hands. When shall you require our services, Danzo-sama? Asked Shin. For now, prepare. That will be our final act before we begin our operation, said Danzo. Hi! All three Root Anbu exclaimed as they left to their preparations. Naruto heard a light knock on his door as his mother entered. Naruto-kun, time to get up. You don't want to be late for school, called out Kushina. Yuichi groaned Naruto as he rolled around groggily in his bed before promptly falling back asleep. He was exhausted as the previous night had been a busy one for him. Flashback 3 nights ago. So based on everything that I've found, it looks like the Uchiha incident isn't going to occur, thought Naruto. For nearly the past year, he had been sending out transformed clones to try and gather information on the Uchiha clan. A few days ago, he made one last attempt to gather information by sending a clone to infiltrate the Uchiha compound directly and enter the secret meeting room beneath the clan hall. He found nothing. No information that hinted towards the Uchiha's coup d'etat. As of now, he was pretty confident that by stopping the Kyuubi attack, he had stopped the Uchiha massacre. There was nothing more that he could do now that wouldn't blow the biggest secret that he ever had, that he was a time traveler. All he could do now was pray that the Uchiha weren't foolish enough to try and revolt against the village. It only helped that his mother and Mikoto were good friends and that his dad and the leader of the Uchiha got along well, seeing as they were on a squad together with Hyuga Hizashi in the previous war. As far as he was convinced, the Uchiha massacre only happened in the previous timeline, so nothing. Now what do I do? Thought Naruto. Now that the Uchiha problem was taken care of, or at least the best he could do, he was now at a loss of what he should do. Of course there was a lot that he needed to do, but nothing major was going to happen for at least 4 to 5 years. At that time in the previous timeline was when everything began to go downhill. That was when he took the Chunin exams for the first time and Orochimaru reared his ugly face. Orochimaru drove Sasuke from the village and Akatsuki began to make its move, so let's see. I shouldn't have to worry about Orochimaru until the first Chunin exams, which is about 4 years away, and Akatsuki won't start coming after me for about 5 years. But then again, will I have to worry about Akatsuki? I mean, I don't have that overgrown fur ball sealed in my gut, thought Naruto. It was at that time, though, that he realized something he wished he didn't. Mom, that's right, Kushina was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi this time around, not him. But that didn't put him at ease one bit. If anything, that made Naruto worry more. Akatsuki would actually be coming after his mother. No! I can't let them get her. I finally got my parents back and there's no way in hell I'm going to lose them again, thought Naruto. But what could he do? He didn't know how to stop Akatsuki at this point. In fact, it was still years before most people even heard the name Akatsuki. He knew what he needed to do. I must get stronger. That way, I can put an end to Akatsuki when they finally do show up and keep them from taking Mom away from me. With that, Naruto made a shadow clone to cover for him just in case something arose in the house while he left to go stake out a training ground where he knew he wouldn't be bothered. Already, he knew where he was going. It was the one place in Konoha where he could work on higher level skills without anyone bothering him. Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death. It took about 30 minutes for him to sneak through Konoha and arrive there. He snuck through an opening in one of the fences and proceeded a little into the training ground, being extra cautious not to set off some sort of trap or anger a dangerous animal. Finally, Naruto came to a clearing which was maybe half a kilometer in, far enough in to cover the training yet to come, but close enough to the edge to be safe. So what can I do? I've got the henge. That was probably the first thing I was able to do, and it's not that lame genjutsu version either. Hell, I can't believe that the henge was actually a genjutsu to begin with. The look on Ebisu-sensei's face was priceless, and Sasuke seemed happy after his dad found out he could use the high-level henge, thought Naruto. I can do the kawarmi, even though I decided not to show that one off in school. I don't want to look like I'm too far ahead of everyone. I still can't do a normal Bunshin no jutsu to save my life though. It sounds like I got a lot of chakra just from coming back in time, about as much as I used to have when I graduated I guess, and I'll probably need Bakon's level of control to even be able to do those. But it doesn't matter since my Kage Bunshin no jutsu works perfectly fine. I can do tree climbing and water walking. So what came after that? Naruto thought for a little, trying to remember everything he did in the previous timeline. So after that, I met Erosenin and learned how to summon. That's probably out for now seeing as I haven't signed the Toad contract. Then I left with Erosenin to track down Bachan and he taught me the Rasengan. Yeah, the Rasengan's definitely next them. The next major training I did was when I left with Erosenin on the 3-year training trip, which now that I think of it, I really didn't get too much accomplished. Sure, I developed the Odama Rasengan, but that was really about it. When I got back, then I learned about wind manipulation from Kakashi-sensei and developed the Futon, Rasengan and Rasen Shuriken. Oh, it'd be so cool if I could still do those. The Futon, Rasengan is definitely doable, but I'll need Sage Mode to use the Rasen Shuriken in combat, and I'm not even going to attempt that until I get the Toad Scroll. I don't want to be turning into a stone frog statue anytime soon. And I can't just go asking for someone to supervise me, because that would draw too much attention. Naruto deliberated for a bit longer before coming up with a decision. Okay, Rasengan for now and then I'll work on wind manipulation. Once I do that, I can make the Futon, Rasengan and work on the Rasen Shuriken so that I can use it the moment I get the Toad contract and can start asking Sannin Jichan-sensei, Fukasaku, to watch me work on Sage Mode. With that, Naruto set out to begin training on the Rasengan. After a few hours, he wasn't getting anywhere. The Rasengan kept exploding in his hands whenever he tried to stabilize it. As he made his way back home for the night, he was thinking on how to do the Rasengan. From the looks of things, his control wasn't quite there yet. He figured he would just have to start from the beginning, starting with the water balloon. Hopefully his dad wouldn't notice the missing water balloons or rubber balls from the house. After 2 nights, Naruto had managed to perform a successful Rasengan with the aid of a shadow clone. However, he wasn't going to stop there this time. He realized that if he truly wanted to master that jutsu, he would have to be able to do it with one hand, and so he started over from the very beginning, using only one hand. And flashback. Well, at least I was able to get through step 2 with only one hand, thought Naruto as he drifted back to sleep. I'll get that jutsu down tonight with only one hand. To Bayo Namikaze. Naruto, get your sorry ass down here before you're late for the academy, or so help me. After hearing the yelling from his mother, Naruto was down and ready to go in a speed that would have rivaled that of Minato's Hiraishin. Shikamaru's right, mothers are troublesome, thought Naruto, shivering in fear at his mother, whose hair was now resembling 9 tails. Don't worry honey, I'll just flash Naruto to school. It's no big deal, said Minato. No big deal? Replied Kushina. Are you trying to encourage him to become lazy? Minato gulped as Kushina reached for one of the kitchen knives. Get over here Namikaze and scrub every seal off of this house before I castrate your lazy ass. Before things could get any uglier in the house that morning, Naruto had left. For probably the first time in both of his lives, he was glad to be going to school. Ohio, Iruka-sensei, said Naruto, greeting Iruka. Ebisu hadn't come in and Naruto was pretty sure he wouldn't be in all day. Good morning, class. I'm sorry to say that Ebisu-sensei won't be coming into class today as he has to deal with a few pipes in his apartment complex that are leaking paint, said Iruka, not quite believe what he was actually saying either. Had anyone looked towards Naruto, they would have noticed the big grin plastered on the blonde's face. Anyways, class, for today we'll begin discussing the Second Shinobi War and many of the tactics used that ultimately led to our victory. After lunch will be physical exercises and weapons practice. Iruka began going over his lecture as Naruto tried to listen in. Besides what Iruka was lecturing on, he was also thinking on how he would get the Rasengan down later tonight, other potential pranks, and hoping his dad wouldn't get caught by his mother. Lunchtime came, and as usual, Naruto and Sasuke found themselves assaulted by a mob of fangirls all wanting to eat lunch with them. Thankfully, there was a rather tall tree in the school courtyard that didn't have any low-hanging branches, not that the fangirls didn't have the upper body strength to climb trees anyways, and Naruto and Sasuke both knew the tree climbing technique. The two were enjoying their lunch atop the higher branches of the trees as the fangirls just sat at the base like a pack of rabid dogs. No offense to Akamaru, who had just chased a squirrel up the tree. After lunch was physical exercises followed by shuriken practice. The exercises were beginning to get a little more intense, and it was becoming obvious that the fangirls' dieting were beginning to take a toll on their physical performance. Okay class, who wants to demonstrate their shuriken skills? Asked Iruka. Me, I'll do it. Shino, you're up, called out Iruka. That would be unwise, sensei, said Shino as a few bugs began to emerge from under his coat, creeping out a few of the people around. Because you see, the Aburame. Never mind. Just go, Sasuke, said Iruka, placing the palm of his hand on his forehead. Yay! Sasuke-kun! Squealed some of the girls. PFT. Why is it always Sasuke-kun this, Sasuke-kun that? Scoffed Hibachi. Why does this seem familiar? Thought Naruto, looking over at Hibachi. Sasuke just HN'd and walked up to the line where he grabbed 8 shuriken in both hands. After pausing for a moment, he threw all of them so that they landed smack dab in a straight line along the center of the post. Sasuke-kun's so cool! Squealed some more fangirls. Bah! What's so great about Sasuke? Said Hibachi. I'll show you. 1. He grabbed a few shuriken and lined up at the line, throwing them. None of them hit their mark and one was even embedded in a tree, mere inches away from a shaking Iruka's head. Weird, I'm almost positive I've seen this before, thought Naruto. Heh, sorry about that. Let me go again, I'll show you just how great I can be, proclaimed Hibachi. Back in line, Hibachi growled Iruka. Now I want the rest of you to pair off and practice. I'll be around to check your progress. Sasuke-kun, Naruto-kun. The mob of fangirls began to swarm their respective deity, but thankfully Iruka was able to put a stop to it. Honestly, this really is starting to get frustrating. Every day these girls, it's just thought Iruka. Sasuke, Naruto, just got together for today, so who shall we do today? Asked Sasuke. I don't know him. I've got it, said Naruto, whispering something in Sasuke's ear. We're going to need a bigger post to do that on, said Sasuke. I know, the fence should serve just nicely, said Naruto. Besides, it might be an improvement after what Hibachi did to it. After a few minutes Iruka began making his rounds. Not bad, Shuji almost had it. Kiba Shikamaru, wake up will ya? Troublesome, yawned Shikamaru. He then came to Naruto and Sasuke to find an empty post. Okay, what are you two up to today? Just 10 more minutes, we're almost done, Iruka-sensei, said Naruto. Iruka sighed and moved on. Hibachi, stop playing around, you're going to take someone's eye out, said Iruka to Hibachi, who was playing with a kunai, that is until he lost control of it. Oh. My eye! Screamed another kid. Iruka sighed. Hibachi, that's enough for one day, he said before taking Hibachi's poor victim to the infirmary. About 10 minutes later, Iruka returned to see Naruto and Sasuke putting the finishing touches on their masterpiece. On the fence behind the training post was a chibi Minato lying on the ground, defeated and beaten with crossed-out eyes and a lump on his head, and a chibi Kushina with a victorious look on her face, her fingers making a V in one hand and the other hand holding a rolling pin. Naruto put the final finishing touches on the portrait with the Hiraishin kunai his dad gave him, landing it square on the collapsed Minato's ass. You know, Naruto, Hokage-sama's the most powerful ninja in the village. I doubt he could be defeated by a rolling pin, said Iruka. Clearly you don't know my mother, replied Naruto. Iruka just sighed again and tried to hold back a slight laugh as he pulled out a camera to take a picture of today's shuriken painting. So far, he had ones of Jiraiya, Kakashi, himself, Tsunade, Gamabunta, and a pig. Iruka didn't know Taunton yet. Come on, just a little. Boom! Naruto was thrown back as the Rasengan destabilized in his hand. Damn it! Come on, one more time. He held out his hand and began forming the Rasengan again. Okay, now just focus, said Naruto as the blue sphere began to form and condense and the chakra began to spin faster. Hold it just a little more, almost. He began to concentrate even harder to keep the Rasengan stable as he began to compress the chakra one last time. The point came and went where Naruto was expecting to be thrown back. When he opened his eyes, the Rasengan was stable and sitting in his hands. Naruto grinned as he eyed a nearby tree and ran towards it. Rasengan! Shouted Naruto as he slammed the Rasengan into the tree, tearing through the trunk of the once mighty tree. He just barely moved out of the way in time to avoid the tree from falling on top of him. Naruto then fell back, exhausted, but satisfied. And now I've got the Rasengan back. I think that'll be it for tonight. I'm tired, said Naruto before wearily making his way back to his house. Now that he had the Rasengan down, wind manipulation was next on his agenda. But that would wait until the next day, and he was pretty sure he could do some of that training at home, as a leaf was a lot less conspicuous than a Rasengan. It was the night, 3 weeks after he completed the Rasengan. Tonight was the fateful night. It was the night where Itachi would supposedly murder his clan. Naruto was pretty sure that he was in the clear, but he wanted to be absolutely sure. He made his way out of his house, leaving a clone to cover for him in his bed, as he dashed towards the Uchiha compound. Despite finding nothing on the massacre, he couldn't be absolutely certain and had to make sure that nothing bad happened. Upon arriving at the compound, Naruto took up a position in one of the nearby trees, suppressing his chakra as best he could, and waited. The compound was quiet, with the only movement being the routine patrol that walked through the streets. There were no signs of an impending coup, no signs of a massacre, no blood, nothing. As time passed, Naruto saw the one person he really wanted to keep an eye on, Itachi, walk up to the door of his house. Itachi was just returning from a mission and Naruto tensed up. Itachi, welcome back, said a feminine voice that was most likely his mother. How was the mission? Naruto watched through a window as Itachi began to remove his ANBU gear, but froze when he saw Itachi looking directly towards him. Shit, I think he spotted me, thought Naruto. Itachi? Is everything okay? Asked Mikoto. Itachi took another look out the window towards Naruto before turning back to his mother. Yes, mother, everything's fine. Itachi closed the window to ensure that any observers couldn't watch. Naruto let out a slight sigh, but kept his guard up as this was Itachi he was dealing with. By the time dawn came, Naruto realized that he was in the clear. No one had been killed that night, at least not on the Uchiha compound. The TNI department was another story, knowing how Ibiki was. Before activity could pick up as the day began, Naruto left, hoping to get back to his house before Namikaze. Naruto, get your lazy ass out of bed this instance. Before that, for the rest of the week, Naruto had clones keep tabs on the Uchiha compound, making sure that nothing out of the ordinary happened. To Naruto's satisfaction, nothing did happen. He saw no signs of an impending coup or massacre, and by the end of the week, he was sure that he was in the clear and the assignment of shadow clones to watch over the compound ended. Naruto had made his way back to the Forest of Death to continue with his training. He had made good progress with wind chakra, although he hit a little snag when he realized that he didn't have a waterfall to cut. As a result, after he finished with the leaf, Naruto began to work his way up through sticks of various sizes. The shadow clone training method was simply amazing for training, and Naruto also found out that he had much better chakra control this time around, due to the fact that he didn't have to focus most of his control on keeping the Kyuubi's chakra at bay. Although it wasn't anywhere near perfect, he still had massive chakra reserves as a result from bringing his yin chakra back with him through time. At first, when he came back, he notices that there were some weird chakra fluctuations within him, partially due to his body rapidly adjusting to the sudden influx of chakra and also due to the fact that a majority of the chakra was yin-based. While his parents didn't notice, the first few months of his life had fluctuations of pain as the yin and yang chakra within him tried to balance one another out, too. Despite the rough start, his chakra had stabilized and he had a lot of it by this point in time, something he was grateful for. Of course, he also realized that he had a bloodline, one that he originally thought was the Kyuubi's doing. While training his wind element, Naruto immediately began thinking the reason he couldn't use the normal Rasen Shuriken in the original timeline was because it tore up his arm. But if his bloodline was perfect healing, then did that mean his arm would fully recover each and every time? He would have to ask his mom to explain to him how exactly the bloodline worked, and if it was in fact possible for him to use the Rasen Shuriken without any permanent drawback. A few more days passed as normal. Naruto was coming home from the academy, after he and Sasuke escaped the mob of horny fangirls. Sadly, his mom was out on a mission, although she would be getting home later, and his dad had a late meeting with the council, something about the civilian council being unhappy about the standards at the academy being raised. Naruto really didn't see what the big deal was. Ever since the shinobi side of the village took back control of the academy, all they had done was eliminate some of the less important subjects, restructure the history taught in the class so that it focused on ninja history and strategies used in war, something Shikamaru was actually awake for, made the physical conditioning more strenuous, required the students to learn a few extra jutsu besides the Academy 3, and a lot of other stuff that would have better prepared them for their future as a genin. On his way up to his room to drop his stuff off, Naruto noticed that his dad's study door was open slightly and sadly curiosity had gotten the better of him. You know, I came in here once or twice to see what sort of cool jutsu dad had, but I never really had time to look, he thought as he went over to one of the bookshelves and grabbed a book titled Fundamentals of Fuinjutsu. Fuinjutsu? That's right. My dad's a seal master, so is mom, and so is Erosenin. Dad's told me a little about seals, but I've never really known what exactly they are all about. Naruto immediately began reading through the large book. While it would have sounded very boring and textbook-like to most people, Naruto was immediately drawn to the subject. He had never realized that Fuinjutsu was this interesting. Man, if they had taught this kind of stuff at the academy, I wouldn't skip class so often, said Naruto to himself. He was glad no one was in the room, or so he thought. What's this about skipping class? Naruto immediately stiffened and turned around to see his dad looking down at him. Apparently, he was so into the Fuinjutsu book that he lost track of time, and Minato's office was where Minato would normally hurry to when he came home. Hey dad, how was that meeting? Asked Naruto. It was good. You know, there are a lot of changes being made to the academy curriculum that you shouldn't skip, retorted Minato. Naruto just grinned innocently. Furthermore, what are you doing in my study? Didn't I tell you not to go in here without myself or your mother? Yeah, but, Naruto, I don't mind if you eventually learn the stuff in here, as I plan to teach it all to you someday as a father, but there are a lot of jutsus in here that could get you killed if you don't know what to do, said Minato. Now, what did you get into this time? He took the book from Naruto's hands and immediately realized it was one of the first books Jiraiya-sensei gave him when he was teaching him Fuinjutsu. Well, I guess this one isn't that bad, said Minato, handing the book back to Naruto. I suppose it is time I start teaching him. After all, both myself and Kushi are seal masters. Hey dad, how come they don't teach this stuff in the academy? Asked Naruto. Well, Fuinjutsu is an incredibly difficult and complex, yet powerful art that only few ever master, said Minato. He had given Naruto a brief introduction to seals before, but he never really started teaching his son. Your mother and I being two of the very few seal masters in this world. Really? Hey dad, think you could show me how to make a few seals? Asked Naruto. This was immediately turning from something he should have gotten in trouble for, to him getting something that would only make him stronger. I don't see why not. Your mother and I were going to start teaching you at some point, so we might as well start now, said Minato. Okay class, before we begin, I've got a few announcements to make, said Irika. It was maybe a month since the supposed Uchiha massacre, although no Uchihas had been killed in at least 4, and that was because of a freak accident on a mission. Naruto had somehow managed to get into the mission records again. First, I will be taking over as your full-time teacher. It appears as if Ebisu-senpai has been offered a full-time private tutoring position, and he has accepted, said Irika. Most of the class cheered. While they really didn't hate Ebisu-sensei, they found that he could be rather boisterous and annoying at times. Besides, they all liked Irika-sensei much better. Per Konohamaru, thought Naruto. If it was anything like last time, Ebisu was probably hired to begin teaching Konohamaru, who should be turning 6 pretty soon and begin his training. Naruto, on the other hand, was maybe 4 months from turning 9. Speaking of which, I should go find him sometime. I kind of miss hanging out with him. Still, Naruto was slightly disappointed that Ebisu would no longer be teaching. I mean, who was he supposed to prank now? His question was answered the moment a white-haired Chunin walked through the door. Oh, this is going to be fun. That bastard of a traitor has no idea what's coming. Sasuke looked over to see that look on Naruto's face, and he was already pitying the fool who was on Naruto's hit list of pranks. Anyways class, I would like to introduce Mizuki, who will be acting as my assistant and assisting me with weapons and jutsu, announced Irika as Mizuki quickly introduced himself. Lastly, we will be having a late exercise tomorrow evening to help teach you some survival skills. While these exercises last overnight for some of the older students, you will only be here until around 11 or 12 at night. After which, you will have the following day off to reflect on what you were taught. We will be holding these exercises all day Friday, so come to class prepared on that day. The training exercise really was nothing too difficult or special. It was merely a series of instructions on camping and surviving in the outdoors, something that would be necessary for extended missions. Tonight was just instruction, and the real outdoor survival exercises would begin in a few months, once the instructors felt the students knew what was necessary. They were let out around 11 or 12 at night, and Naruto and Sasuke proceeded to make their way towards the Uchiha compound, which was on the way to Naruto's house. It was a rather calm night, no clouds, and the stars were brightly shining in the night sky. The entire village had practically shut down for the night with the exception of a few necessary buildings. It was quiet, almost too quiet. Naruto and Sasuke were discussing some of the things that they went over in class when they approached the Uchiha compound, and a blood-filled scream ripped through the air, followed by another. I guess that's enough for one night. Naruto should be home any minute now, said Kushina, quietly to herself. She had set down a book that she had been reading, waiting for her son to return home from the academy's late-night exercises. Minato was also busy tonight with a lot of work, not the type shadow clones could so sadly. He was busy tonight finishing up the initial draft of the treaty that would be approved by the Konoha Council and then sent to Sunagakure to further strengthen the relationships between the two nations. Where is he? He should be home by now, said a slightly frustrated Kushina as she made her way out of the house to see if Naruto was coming down the street. As she reached the road, 3 ANBU appeared in front of her. Uzumaki Kushina, you are to come with us immediately, said one of the ANBU.